That's what I'm talking about. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, Goglings, Gogorifics, and Gog Peoples to episode 284 of Pen and Pixels here on GogCom's Twitch channel. I am your host, Arvin Elleron. This is the show that focuses on story and narrative in games, and today we are graced as usual by the GOG crew, which is playing Talisman Adventures with us as our campaign continues. We want to thank our sponsor for this, Pegasus Spiele, which is the maker of this game. Thank you so much, as always, for the assistance and the help to Pegasus Spiele. This is a great game that we've had a lot of fun with, and we're just getting started. We have just reached level 2 of this campaign. But before we go any further, I do want to just remind people very quickly about ways to help us here on GogCom. If you haven't done so already, please make sure to follow the channel. That's always appreciated. Please make sure, thank you, Major Mokado. Yes, that video is produced by the amazing Peripheral Mike, and the music is provided by Green Forge Studios, from which you will be hearing more in the not-too-distant future, by the way, at least as far as my campaigns are concerned. So, yes, please follow us on the channel. Please also subscribe to us here on GOG.com. That's always appreciated. And if you haven't already done so, please consider clicking through and checking out our individual subsystems, our individual channels, because we have our own subsystems and Patreons and things like that as well. Today we've got Talisman Adventures. Next week I'll be back with some Celasta Crown of the Magister. I'll also be on my channel, and I do want to mention just this very quickly. For those of you who have followed my voice team, the R Vocalists, tonight we have a special event on my channel, which is an interview with two of the NeoCab lead devs for the game NeoCab, which was a really cool visual novel game that we did that was voiced by my voice team, the R Vocalists. And I'm going to be joined by 3 of the 4 of that voice team tonight to interview Andrew McLean and Paula Rogers, who are 2 of the developers. Andrew McLean is the lead engineer, and Paula Rogers is the lead writer on NeoCab, which is a really cool game. So if you're interested in seeing more about the behind-the-scenes stuff, please join us over on my channel tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern. But for right now, we have got some Talisman Adventures heading your way. And so in the interest of that, I'm going to unmute myself and let folks know that we are ready to go, and apologize for interrupting them. And then I'm going to unmute them. And I am going to head over, wait for it, right now, to reveal that we are in fact here with the Talisman Adventures D&D with GOG, but now it's the Talisman Adventures crew. And before I go any further, also, I will just quickly note, yes, holding up their Talisman Adventure books. I, too, have my adventure book nearby. We all have them. Thank you to Pegasus Spiele for this. I do want to say very quickly that... pale.
Okay.
Now I've lost my page. Fortunately,
I did
there's
want to
a
mention
handy-dandy
that
book.
my microphone setup is different today because my mixer crapped out this morning. It is 15 years old, so I really can't complain too much, but it finally gave up the ghost, and so I have ordered a new one. But obviously, no matter how fast like Amazon works, it's not going to get me something in the next 2 hours. So I am using my Samson GoPro mic, which is what I use when it's on the road. When I'm on the road, it is a good microphone, but it is definitely not set up the way that my home setup is. So I apologize in advance for the microphone setup not being ideal. But the good news is that the crew is here, and we are all ready to go. Also, you will notice that I am joined today by my amazing, awesome daughter with her cool new hat. She just got back from yes, and my cool new hat. Thank you. She just got back from camp, and I'm very happy to have her with me. So she's just hanging out and drawing some pictures and listening to the shenanigans of this crew. And the other thing I wanted to mention, just as a little bit of a teaser. So would you mind getting that for me, my love? So I got the Greyhawk map that I have previously shown. I've gotten it put onto a cork board, and so you can, or foam core board, and so you can now see, I have to put laminate on it, but that is the entire map of Greyhawk. And if you're wondering why I'm bringing this up here, it's because I think in 2 weeks, we have got D&D with GOG, Ghosts of Saltmarsh, going into its second session, and this is exactly where that's set. So they did a great job on the framing of this, and I'm super excited to host it in my office and everything. But in the meantime, I wanted you all to see that's actually done as sort of an inspiration for the folks that are here, because it involves 3 of the 4 of these people, though not the 4th one, which is of course Tasty Chai. But we'll talk about that in just a moment as we get down to Tasty Chai, who was with us for Talisman but not for D&D. It just means she was at summer camp, where kids go for fun and adventure in the great outdoors.
Drama queens.
And there are drama queens. Well, that wasn't part of the.
This wasn't the best.
That wasn't the official. That wasn't the official camp experience that was supposed to happen.
Is that not on the brochure?
Yeah, it was not on the brochure, exactly. But anyway, so yes, that is what's going on. Very excited to do more with that, but very excited to have more of Talisman Adventures today as we continue with part 2 of the campaign, which we are calling Toads and Diamonds, but we will see how that all works out. First, though, I want to introduce the players. I will begin, as always, with our fearless leader, Pyron Jade. Pyron, I know things have been up and down for you, but I wanted to see how you're doing tonight and how you're feeling about today's session, getting ready for moving into a world in which there's great danger and risk, and therefore it'll be maybe a little more fun than real life can be. How are you feeling, and who are you playing today?
I'm very much looking forward to the session. I wonder what's coming up next, and I'm really happy tonight to be here and play with all the wonderful people. And I'm going to be Regina Augusta III, who is now a level 2 warrior sprite.
That's right, level 2. So if you thought that she was angry before, just wait till level 2 action comes riding down on you. It's going to be great, and I am very excited to see what Regina gets up to next. I am also excited, of course, to see what the incredible Reginald Schoen, played by, of course, Darksaber 2K, gets up to next. Darksaber, good to see you. How is life in the universe with you, sir? How are you doing? And yes, and who are you playing? Can you tell us something cool about Mr. Reginald, I guess, with you?
I'm great, thanks. Very happy to be back again with this great group of people playing fun times and seeing what's coming up next. And definitely looking forward to taking out this level 2 character for a spin. And Reginald Schoen is a ghoul druid who tends a city graveyard by himself and just very recently had to go on a bit of an adventure to recover something that someone nicked, which turned out under his very nose had been this talisman of unknown power this whole time. And he got dragged along and swept up in events and literally ended up killing the big bad with a gust of wind last session.
Yes, that's very true.
Which was as awesome as it was improbable.
That's true. Yes, it was a very interesting session that involved a lot of Ashflower battling people over a windowsill, gusts of wind, lightning, and then running back and forth. And also Reginald also shattering a bunch of things was also helpful. Mm-hmm. Let's not forget. Yeah. With Regina poking skeletons, there was a whole lot of fun that went down with all of this. But it is great to have Darksaber back with us, and I am looking forward to seeing what Reginald gets up to, especially because since they've risen to the dizzying height of level 2, it'll be interesting to see what these characters can bring to the table even more than they have before. Also, as always, thank you, Saber, for doing Moobot and Dashboard and all that kind of good stuff. I appreciate it. Moving right on down the line to Peripheral Mike. There is no truth to the rumor that Mike and I may be involved in certain video shenanigans for certain other projects. Certainly not the case that you may be even more blown away than you were just blown away by the Talisman intro video done by that same peripheral mic. No truth to any of that rumor, or that perhaps there's custom music being done for any of this. None of that's true. Instead, you're just going to have to live with the prospect of what if it were true, and with the real life peripheral mic who's right in front of you, Mike Smith. Mike, good to see you. How's life, the universe with you, sir? And who are you playing tonight?
Yeah, life is really good, to be honest with you. I am incredibly excited to be playing Talisman again. I'm very sorry I missed the last session. I am eternally grateful to Darksaber for running Ashflower. And I'm also eternally sorry for the fact that I couldn't hit the broadside of a barn with basically
or the
any
other
of my
side of a
attack.
windowsill.
I was very, very useful for a very, very short amount of time, by the look of it. And then I was just basically background flavor, which is absolutely fine. But I am playing Ashflower, who is a lay walker assassin and is wandering the world from his home in the Great Forest, looking to ensure that the balance, the scales of balance in the universe remain as they should be until, excuse me, such time that he can move on to his next great quest. And at the moment, he's ensuring that this object of power gets back to where it belongs, and then he'll see what happens and see where his adventure takes him next time. Yeah, that's pretty much it from me.
Good stuff. I look forward to seeing more about that. And last but certainly not least, we have someone who has now got furniture. You will notice that there is actual furniture. I was joking that every time we see Chai's background, it's just going to have more and more bling. So eventually it's just going to be in front of swimming pools with like golden helicopters flying by and all this stuff. Like I expect that's what's up next. But it's good to see you, Chai. How are you doing? How is life in the universe with you? Who are you playing? And yeah, how does it feel to be in a furnished room now?
It's messy, is what it is. We are doing a lot of home renovation. For those of you who don't know, and currently on the agenda is painting the entire upstairs. And so everything that was in other rooms is now in this room. So it's a disaster.
But it got stuff,
finished.
though.
It
has stuff, you know?
Yeah, exactly. We do have a rug that's meant to be in this room. So that is supposed to be here, but everything else is not.
Everything else belongs in a different room.
You know. Anyway, I am playing Muriel, who is an elven prophetess, which in Talisman is essentially the equivalent of a Malkavian, with their heads screwed on a little bit tighter than an actual Malkavian. So they're not totally crazy, but a little bit unhinged. So, yeah, we're excited to see how that keeps going, because she seems just as confused as to why she's there as everyone else.
Yeah, I look forward to seeing more from Uriel and more of these prophecies and the way that they're sort of played out. In fact, Muriel will be coming into this quite quickly when we get started here, as we will talk about. But before we get there, I do want to ask each person, we have risen to level 2, as I mentioned, so I will start back up at the top with Pyron, and I will ask, is there anything, what cool new thing has happened for Regina since her recent adventures that she's learned from? And also, do you have an updated life total for me? Are my 2 questions.
Well, my updated life total is 21.
All right.
So for you, those of you who don't know much about Talisman Adventures, as a warrior, I start with 15 life points, and I then can decide to either add my resolve or metal. I decided my resolve because it's higher, so that's an additional 3 points that I already had at level 1. And when leveling up, I get 3 more points, taking me from 18 to 21. And here we are. Also, going through all this very unhygienic forest thing and having to sleep outside and all of this, Regina gained a little bit of metal. So she's a bit tougher than she was before.
Ah, that's hard to believe. It's hard to imagine that Regina could be even tougher than that's just an extra.
Yeah, but it's this kind of... for example, if you're looking at the survival skill, you can either use insight, which is when you're seeking safety somewhere outside, or metal, which is about surviving extreme circumstances. So I felt this was appropriate, considering what we did last time. So that's also, she feels lucky, and yes, we can now see that Fate actually smiles on her because she now has the new special ability, Fate Smile, and which means I start with 2 light Fate at the level at the beginning of every session, and my maximum light Fate increased by 1 by the special ability, and also increased by 1 because of the level up. So I can now have a maximum of 5 light Fate and start with 2 of those at every session.
Wow, 2 light fate. So already we see the luck increasing, the fate improving. It is fortunate that I have got 4 dark fate, 1 for each of you. Not that I would ever use that for nefarious or evil purposes in any respect. All right, awesome. So Regina's tougher and luckier. That is a good combination.
I was thinking about making her a little bit more tough because there's actually a special ability called Tough. But I felt like the things that are she's already like with so many layers of armor that I decided to go for a little bit more.
Yeah, you don't want to be typecast, right? You want to be able to, like have some other things. Oh, I should mention, by the way, I did quite a bit of looking into this because the armor thing continued to elude me. We've been playing it this way, but I just wanted to confirm that as I've been able to understand it, again, the way that armor works is, as you folks know, when you go into combat, when you first take damage, you mark an X in your armor box. And that's every combat. The first time you take damage, you mark an X. When the X's are all, marked off, then the armor is destroyed and it can't be used anymore. But what we've been doing and what I just want to confirm for everyone is, every point of damage that you take via your armor that doesn't get through to your life points is marked off basically as every time you get hit, basically, you mark off a slash in that same armor box. So what that means in effect is that every box that is marked off reduces the effectiveness of your armor, so that if you get hit multiple times in a combat, every time you lose 1 point of effectiveness off the armor. Now here's how that works at the end of the combat when all that's over. When you then take a short rest, or the equivalent of a rest, you can do what's known as refitting your armor. And what that does is it clears all of the slashes off the armor box. So all of the slashes go away, which means your armor is almost as effective as it was before. What does not get cleared away are the X's. So the X's remain permanently damaged in the armor until you can get to a blacksmith or have your own ability to smith armor and whatever, and then you can take away the X's. So if your armor effectiveness starts at 10, first time you get hit, that gets reduced to a 9. Second time, and that's with an X, second time you get hit, there's a slash, and the effectiveness for that combat is reduced to an 8. When you get a hit again, it's reduced to 7, and so on and so on. Then, when you get into a resting environment, you can then rest to clear all of the slashes, so you can refit your armor, but you will not clear the X until you're able to go to a blacksmith or something like that. Okay? So is everyone clear about that? Because the way we were playing it before, I think the first time we played it where you just had a certain armor total, and that was the way that it was all the time, except for that 1X that we were talking about, and I couldn't figure out what the point of the slashes were. And I believe, if I've been able to understand it correctly, that is what the point of the slashes are. This is, of course, not counting armor that can have like stuff that ignores armor completely. That's a whole different matter. Also, I need to pause you for a moment. Give me 1 second here, because I have someone calling me.
Okay.
So I think I get most of that.
It's like permanent and temporary durability loss.
Yeah. It's like damage and kind of not fitting right because it's shifted and moved and stuff like that. So you can slot armor pieces back together and like tape them up and things like that. But it's never
tightening the straps.
Basically.
My problem with this is that the character sheet where the armor points are doesn't let me enter X's or slashes.
I just get the
I was using the bottom row as X's and the top row as slashes for that.
I might have to do something like that. I do have 11 armor points. Now I only have 8 right now, but I will have to see how I keep track of this.
Yeah, so it's I think it's page 46 in the book. If you wanted to have a quick look.
Okay, sorry about
there
that.
is it. I mean, I can see a lot of what I was saying.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, that was how I'd read it as the rules, but I didn't want to get into a protracted debate over the fine points of it last session.
No, that's absolutely fine.
Yeah, so, and I think and I'm sorry, because I don't think it's, that part is, with all due respect to our wonderful sponsor, I don't think is well explained. And so, no, it's not, that's not how it works, Mokara. Because you definitely get an X. It absolutely says an X the first time that you get hit. And then the slashes are placed in. And the reason I know that is because then refitting only clears slashes and it does not clear X's. So it specifies that specifically. So that's why. So originally I also thought that the armor, when it got hit, would get hit for the number of points, but that's not actually what it is. But I do want to mention that if you are using a shield or a helm, and I don't think any of you are, but one, I think, Regina, you don't have one officially, right? Like, not
I
yet.
don't have one, no.
So the one thing about a shield, which is cool, is that if you use your shield, you can actually block damage. This is above and beyond the armor, but that actually does have a finite amount that will then break the shield. So in certain cases, if the shield takes enough damage where it would be destroyed, you roll a die, and if you rolled a certain number, I'd have to look and see what it is, then the shield is preserved, which is very much, it's sort of like the way the Talisman board game works, kind of. But if not, then the shield is broken, but the damage is still prevented. So both shield and helm is like an additional layer on top of it. So that's what it is. Until Pegasus developers tell me different, that's what I'm going with as far as how we do it. And as far as entering it in the character sheet, Pyron, yeah, I don't know about that. I know that they're expecting it. My guess is that they don't probably know about it in terms of like the fillable sheet, like, because they're thinking of it as like pen and paper where people can put in whatever. But I know they specify X's versus slashes, and that only slashes are refit capable, not blacksmith capable. So that's also something to think about. If your armor gets to the point where there's lots of X's in it, you are probably going to have to go to a blacksmith to fix it, or you run the risk of the armor being destroyed, and you can't undestroy the armor. So that's just something to think about. But anyway,
As a warrior, I was tempted to take a special ability for shields, but I couldn't really imagine Regina flying around with a shield. I thought maybe like taking an oversized shield and then like slot the feet into it and flying around like the Silver Surfer, but I decided against it in the end, so
yeah,
no shield.
I also, it feels like, I don't know, does Regina ever defend? I feel like Regina's always
Why?
like,
What for?
like the best defense is to kill them first, right? Like that's, So anyway, okay. So I just wanted to let people know about that. All right, on we go. Very excited to see Regina's new stuff. Let's talk about Reginald, Saber. What new things does Reginald Shun have? He can now summon a graveyard around him at any time, right?
He gains a whopping +1 health.
+1 health, 16 out of 16 life.
But on top of that, on his travels with people who speak a lot more than corpses tend to, but a bit less than spirits tend to, because boy do they moan. He's gained a little bit of insight, which has generally raised his craft as well, which makes him much more effective at mystical matters.
Give me actually. So I had for you Strength 2, Craft 5, now Life 16. So you now have Craft 6.
Craft 6, Insight 3 are the changes.
Insight 3. Okay, and I should have asked you that also, Pyron, just quickly while I'm thinking about it. I had you originally at Strength 4, Craft 3, and Life is now 21. So what changes have you made there, Pyron, just so I remember?
Metal is now at 2.
Metal is now at 2. Is your Strength 5?
Nope, not yet, because it's Brawn, Agility, Metal adds up to 9. Divided by 2 is 4.5. Rounded down is still 4.
Yeah. Okay, gotcha. Okay.
I'm working my way up there.
We're getting there. You're getting stronger. Okay,
Yep.
cool.
I also had a look if this is going to be a problem with the level cap, because I'm a sprite. Will I get up to level 5? And yes, I can.
Good. Okay. Yeah. Listen, I mean, I'd even have to bend the rules if Regina couldn't do that. Okay. Sorry, Saber. Back to you. Okay. So I got your new strength. So you have insight. Anything else?
I have more insight. I think I'm just going to have to go for one. I've been flicking through the special abilities, and they're all nice, but in very situational ways. But when they occur, they'll be nice. But I think he's he feels like after the journey through the forest, he's been observing the trees and feels anointed by the oak. And drawing upon the oak's physical strength and natural wisdom, he can choose to spend a light fate to replace a strength-based aspect or a craft-based aspect with one of his choosing. So he could, instead of testing his brawn, he could substitute his resolve, which is much better.
Oh, clever. See, I
For 10
love the way
minutes.
that light fate is becoming more like this is the currency really of this game, fate, both light and dark fate, which is perfect because oh my god, that is the currency of Talisman the board game. Like it is 100% about fate in a lot of ways. So that's very cool that and I think you were talking about this off stream, Saber, that like that means you're going to have to like I have this image of Reginald being like, "Oh, I'm not gonna give you my fate." Like he's gonna have to hoard the light fate for the right reasons, you know.
It's paid off in the last campaign
Yes,
when we and me got into some fate bidding wars. It's like I'm going to raise this guy's threat. Well, I'm going to activate my special ability.
Yep, it's true. And of course, and as we know, at the end of every session, we go back to the default starting point, which for Regina is 2, but for you is still 1. So yeah,
that's right.
All right, very cool. So that's good. That is going to make even increase Reginald's flexibility. So, anything else? Are those the highlights?
That was pretty much it. Aspect, life. I've got an extra spell point as well because my craft's gone up to 6, so I now have 6 spell points too.
6 spell points, which was super useful in the last.
I can shatter 6 things.
Very, very excited about that.
Line them up, people. Line them up.
That's why I just literally the final fight was I shatter that guy's sword, I shatter that guy's sword,
Yeah,
I shatter that guy's sword.
It was pretty wild. I'm clearly going to have to make sure they all start carrying things made of plastic. But anyway, very good
plastic
stuff.
shiv.
I look forward to seeing more stuff from Reginald. Moving right on down the line, this leads us to Ashflower. So Mike, tell me, as we've moved up the chain in life, where is Ashflower at in terms of life, and what new things does the Ashflower have?
I think it's very fair to say that he is a lot more world knowledgeable since joining this group. He spent a lot of time on his own, traveling the great forests and traveling around different places, making sure that the scales of fate are balanced. And this means that his insight has increased. So his aspect insight has increased, which also means my craft has increased by 1. So whilst he previously had me at strength 4 craft 3, you now have me at strength 4 craft 4, I believe. If I've
I had
done
you
those
at
numbers
strength
correctly.
3, but I may have been wrong about that.
Oh, I see. Was that when I tried to rebalance my character after I only half wrote him?
Yeah, I had you at strength 3, but you might be right. So is it now strength 4? I mean, you tell
It's
me.
strength 4, craft 4, insight 4.
Craft
So
4
insight is what I've upped.
and insight 4. Gotcha. Cool. All right.
Yes.
And your life total now is?
I believe it's 15 if memory serves.
No,
if I'm
your
reading
life
the
was
book
17.
correctly. Then I add 2 to that.
So you are now.
So my max life will now be 19.
Gotcha. All right. And
make a note
anything
of
other
that. Thank
cool
you.
things that you're like? And now he can assassinate
Well,
by staring
and-
at people or something.
He does have quite a lot of very interesting. The assassin is a very complex character, and there are a lot of very sexy sounding skills, including, but not limited to, everything is a weapon, which specifically disables your ability to disarm me, which I'm particularly fond of. However, I have decided to go for probably the one that will cause the most impact and effect on both the party and also the campaign, and go for Fate's Smile, which means I now start with 2 light fate points at the start of every session.
Notice, chat, how the players immediately have been like, we need to get more fate. How do we get this fate? This fate. We need more light fate. Give us more light fate. Come on, man. I'm good for it. Like,
They're
No,
all
I'm
jealous
good
of
for
what
it,
I
man.
was pulling off on the last campaign.
they're like, we need
Oh.
fate.
I was very much rooting for you in the last session, mate. Do not get me wrong. Like that was some ballsy moves, and I was like, man, I want to be a ghoul druid.
Yep. So good stuff. So you've got more light fate. You are stronger with more craft ability and and more insight. So good stuff. All right. I look forward to seeing how we deal with Ashflower going forward. And last but certainly not least, of course, our previously mentioned good elf prophet of Muriel. Chai, I'm curious about what new things you've got and if you've made any improvements in ability scores / life totals, etc.
Total is, like Reginald, a whopping +1. So
Woohoo!
very excited about that.
Lucky 13.
Yoo! And I did increase my wits from 3 to 4, but that kept my craft the same. That's fine.
Right. Insights from 3 to 4. From wits from 3 to 4. Okay.
Yep. Yep.
Anything else that cool stuff that Muriel can do?
Muriel, through her adventuring, has learned subtle weaving, which is the ability to spend a light fate at the beginning of a turn to transfer 1, 2, or 3 light fate from a willing character to another character with insight. So
Cool.
this can actually exceed their maximum by 3.
The luck. So you just drain all of Regina's luck, and you're like, Ashflower, all the luck. You are so lucky. Like,
I mean, it has to be willing though, because otherwise that's just, we just don't do that.
yeah. I like that though. Wow. So
Regina, think fast.
And it's going to fit well with the whole concept of, the way the combat is managed here, where everybody figures out who wants to go in what order and everything. So it really is the group working collectively to decide. That's cool.
Yeah.
And very Muriel-ish, I think.
Yes, I thought it was appropriate for her.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. All right. Okay, so we are all set to go then, I think, with the new abilities. I have restocked myself with 4 Dark Fate. Regina has 2, Reginald has 1, Ashflower has 2, Muriel has 1. We are ready to go. Let me fire up the music, and let's get started by talking a little bit, because we are okay. We are right outside. Give me the music here. Okay, there we go. Perfect. And make sure I'm getting the music from here. Good. Yeah, you use the same kind of themes. Chat, let me know if this is too loud or if it's okay. What do you think, chat? Are you able to hear this okay? Hear me okay? Hear the players okay? And can you hear that music okay but not too loud? It's quiet for us, but I want to make sure it's okay for them.
Music's good for me.
Music's good for you? Okay. All right. Okay. So I want to bring us here to the room. This is taking place about a month after the events of our last of Death's Messenger, where the party successfully managed to thwart a high priest who, out of his grief over the loss of his wife, was attempting to reverse the delicate balance between life and death by stealing a talisman right out from Reginald Shoon's nose, if you please. And the party managed to defeat him, managed to bring him to his legitimate rest as opposed to the rest he would have been engaged in, and managed to restore the balance. Reginald has been able to restore the talisman to his graveyard, and it is about a month afterwards. All 4 of you have been busy, I would say, with various endeavors, but rather than me telling you, I want to ask each of the party members what they have been doing, with the only caveat that I'd like it if you could be somewhere close to the city, for reasons that will shortly become apparent. So with that said, I'll go in the other direction this time. I won't make Pyron go first all the time. Muriel, what exactly have you been doing in the city since the events of Death's Messenger and what you learned about prophecy and fate and, and death and all that in that first adventure?
I've been reading my new book because I've picked up a book and I've been studying it, taking it to specialists, trying to learn more about it because it has been fascinatingly confusing. So
Yep.
I've been trying to get to the bottom of that, and the scroll as well. I think I picked up a scroll. So I just was kind of getting familiar with that. So I spent a lot of time in the tavern, just reading in my corner, muttering to myself.
That's I like it. And yes, we're going to talk more about that book and about the impact of that book that we're looking at here. Because I'm going to be starting with you, actually, sort of as we launch our next part of the campaign in a little bit. Ashflower, what have you been engaged with in the process since the events of Death's Messenger over the last month or so? I think you're muted.
Oh no, muted. You're muted. I think it's fair to say. No, I was definitely muted. I think it's fair to say that he spent at least a few days having no real taste for crowds or cities or other people. Really, having spent so much of his life on his own, he will have spent quite a lot of time in and around the Split Oak Woods, at least for about a week or so. Then a strange but not unexpected thing happened, that he started to miss people, and specifically Regina and Reginald and Muriel, and missed their company and missed talking to them, and he realised that actually they had quite a lot in common. So he spent the next few weeks wandering around the city, meeting up with them occasionally, although Muriel never really spoke to him. She more spoke to a book, which was quite unusual. But he speaks to trees, so he isn't one to judge. And just being in the city and being around people, learning nuances, learning how to socially interact with people, and obviously how to hone some of his lesser reputable skills, like, you know, finding people who are tipping the balance of the scales and maybe taking them off the board, so to speak. Yeah, I think that's probably what he's been doing over the last 4 weeks or so.
Very cool. And we'll talk a little bit about the impact of that when we get into things in just a little bit. Reginald, what has been your process over the last month? Have you been mostly just, like tending to the graveyard with even greater fervor, or have you been checking out your perimeter security? What have you been involved in over the last month?
Well, he has patrons that, expect a certain standard to be maintained on the graves, so he's been making sure that those get maintained, and being a graveyard in the city, there's no shortage of fresh work for a graveyard. Although he has noticed something a bit odd happening recently after, in a newly discovered extroverted mode, he ventured an opinion on what he'd been told about someone who was suffering from an ailment. And he was right, and the person got better. And he's finding, not regularly, but every now and again, people are seeking him out for treatments for diseases, because he seems to be developing a little bit of an aptitude for it.
So he is, in a way, I just had this image of the ghoul doctor that is gradually developing his skills and understanding. And one quick follow-up. Is Reginald pleased with this turn of events, to the extent Reginald can be pleased with things?
Bemused.
Okay.
He's not against it, but much like when he found a confrontational sprite in his graveyard, demanding to know where the shortcut was, he's just sort of bemused and seeing where it goes.
Okay. I am excited to see more of that bemusement develop. Last but certainly not least, what has Regina been engaged in over the last month since the events of Death's Messenger?
Well, she had some important business to attend to, like arm wrestling contests, drinking contests, brawling, like the things that just happen. Right. But she also got her armor repaired, and she sometimes got drunk on the graveyard, like in front of that specific crypt, saying that she needed to take care of the Talisman not getting stolen again, because that would be very, very bad. Also, maybe chatting up Reginald a bit, just, making sure. Also checking on Muriel, because she might in the future need her again to carry alcohol around for her. It's better to check on her from time to time, like where she is. Maybe she doesn't know where she is. It's good if somebody knows. Also, Ashflower is in town again, and it's a bit curious, so let's see. Maybe he's doing balancing things again. You never know. Could use some help. Might be good. So, just doing all of these things.
So, and I like the idea that Regina is checking up on people without making it seem like she really cares. Like, just checking up on them, but not because like she really, cares about. Just wants to make sure they don't, something bad doesn't happen. But like, don't get the wrong idea, like just. Yeah, right?
No.
Yeah, I mean, like
he's very independent from all of these people.
Oh yeah, very important. No, I totally get that. That's completely fair. All right. Well, I want the camera here to zoom in here on. Do you want to show the first? Okay. So here we go. So my daughter has been doing. So this is picture number 1 of Regina Augusta III as interpreted by my daughter. All right.
I don't know how to show it on the camera.
Wow.
That's
amazing.
I love it.
You talking about me? But what is this?
You talking about me,
That's
bro?
for Scar.
That's for Scar.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Nice.
Look, I had to put it in. Just had to
I
put it
flew. I flew high speed through a thorn bush. These things happen.
Yeah.
Nature is cruel.
Yeah.
Very cool. All right.
That's
part 1.
amazing.
That's good stuff. Huh?
That's amazing.
All right. 1 down, 3 to go.
Nicely done.
for her name, the bumblebee thing inspired me.
Oh yeah, the bumblebee, right? Because it was gold and black. That's very cool. Alrighty, so I want the camera here to zoom in on Muriel, and Muriel, the camera is going to zoom in on you specifically as you are in a section of the city in which people rarely go. It actually isn't even known to everyone in the city, and it took you a little while to discover it yourself. This is a place that is down multiple alleyways. It's one of those ones where you take a right and then your second left and then your fourth right, and then you do a circle. I mean, it's very confusing in terms of how to get here. But you came here specifically because this is where you were told you could find someone who would have more knowledge about the book, which you have in your possession. And so you are sitting, as we speak, inside this small, what I would describe as basically a hovel. Having found your way through these alleyways, you're sitting inside this hovel, which is barely big enough to be called a hovel. Like, there are 2 chairs that are inside it, basically. There is one fire that kind of fitfully burns in one corner of this place. You're quite confident that this is in no way up to city code. Like, I mean, there's no chance. So it kind of is. And it's also, I should, by the way, say that it is a damp and cold night. Turn the music down about 25%. Okay. Thank you.
Could it be that we hear the music double
There
through
we
the
go.
game and
It's
through
possible because of it being on speakers. Yeah, the
okay.
setup that I have at
Highly
the moment is not
possible.
optimal. So it will be fixed once I get the mixer. Is that better?
It is what it is.
Is that better, everybody in chat?
Better or worse?
Better or worse? Let me know. Yes,
This is
yes.
muted in roll 20, so that's easier for me.
Yes, better. Okay. All right,
That's an excellent point. I have not even gone into Roll20. Thank you.
okay. Yes would be the answer to that question, Byron. Okay. So, let's see, where was I? Ah, yes, the hovel. And you are sitting opposite someone who looks, perhaps this is a good place for someone in a hovel to live, because this person is so crumpled over and bent over that it looks almost, someone who is just sort of peering through the door might think that you were sitting talking to a bundle of rags, because that's basically what it looks like. And on the knees of this bundle of rags, indicating that it's not a bundle of rags, is the book. And the book itself is open to a page. And you've been watching, Muriel has been watching intently over the last few minutes as the pages have been flipped. And finally you hear, coming sort of slightly muffled, you'll have to imagine, coming from out of it, "Yes, I can see. I can see it here. This is from the great wizard himself. Why have you been allowed to hold on to this tome? These are forbidden, you know." And she kind of leans towards you, which means as you lean back, you're almost banging your head against the door because, again, hovel, like, right? "How did you receive this item?"
I came into it, luckily. Yes, luck was involved, and now I possess it. But so you can you understand it. You know what's going on in this book?
"I know who it's from, but the language here is ancient. and I am still but young in its ways. She looks like she's 185, but I am still young in the ways of this kind of lore. But very clearly the wizard's instructions have been laid out. If you were to piece together the lore and language, you might be able to find the talismans themselves. She kind of leans forward again.
And this time I actually do hit my head on the other side.
Like, oh. and she says, there is great danger here. If anyone were to know that you had this book, they might do much to retrieve it for themselves, perhaps even eliminating she who carried it. Beware, therefore. The secrets within this book may bring threats from without this book, and you will be their target. A little bit of spit flecks over her lips. Yeah, exactly. And she says, I cannot translate this without the key. You must find the touchstone. It is the source of linguistic knowledge. Somewhere there is a key. And if you can find this key in some dark, rotting library or dank basement in an ancient temple, you could translate this book and gain the power thereby.
Is Ancient Temple a specific destination that I could seek out, or are you just kind of making something up here?
I do not make things up. I use my language in specific and exact ways.
Perfect.
But
I will
don't
seek
know
out
of
a temple.
I don't know of a specific one, no. I mean,
No,
there's the
not
one
a
here,
specific-
but... And then she kind of shakes her head. But never mind that. Somewhere you'll be able to find it. If this found its way to you, then those things will find their way to you as well. The real question is, do you want to find it? And she leans in sort of close.
I lean back in just a little closer than I'm perfectly comfortable with, and I show that. Just like, yes?
I see. Very clever. Very intelligent. I hope you are ready for the danger that might ensue. But very well. Then I can tell you you're on the right track. This is indeed a true book. And it will be there for true purpose. And she reaches down and she picks up a pile of herbs, which you kind of thought were just part of the garbage pile next to her. You're kind of like, but she picks them up, and you can see that they are this sort of pile of dried brownish and greenish herbs. And she crushes them, and then she says, now, you must, she looks around, embrace eternity. And she blows this cloud of herbs into you. And for a moment, you're just sort of like, what the heck, woman? Like, what are you doing, right? But then you begin to see something in your mind's eye. It is quite similar to the prophecy, the feelings of sort of foretellings that you've had before. Except this seems much more, how do I put this? Hazy, like it's coming to you as if it's as if you were using a different. Imagine if you were using a different item to focus your attention upon, or if you were using a weapon that was the same kind of weapon, but it wasn't your weapon, so it feels a little bit like that. And it's these two round eyes that you see in the darkness, and then the round eyes get larger and larger, and it seems to be coming towards you, and then in the darkness you can see the shape of a mouth curving in front of the eyes, and as you look, you see you are staring into the face of an enormous toad. And the toad looks at you and croaks long and steadily and grimly, if it's possible to have a grim croak, does so. And then looks at you and says, in clearly definable, albeit toad-accented language, Dewberry. And then, just as quickly, you're back in there and the crone is looking at you. Well, what did you see?
Well, what I saw was prettier than you, which is surprising. Anyway,
She stops. She's like trying to figure out what that means.
I saw Dewberry.
Dewberry, did you say?
I did say Dewberry.
Dewberry is a town to the north of the city. But there's nothing in Dewberry except. And she looks at you, her eyes glitter in the flickering light from the corner of her hovel. Diamonds, my dear. Diamonds. Okay. So, diamonds. As you conjure with that, we're going to actually no, I'm not gonna leave you. I'm gonna continue this. And it is Dewberry. The way Darksaber spelled it is correct. Although he said Dewberry, but it is spelled that way. So she looks at you and she says, "What you seek, at least the next stage of what you seek is there. In the town of Dewberry." And she says it in such a way that it sounds a little bit, it reminds you a little bit of the toad's croak from your vision, but not quite. So this was easily the biggest toad you'd ever seen, by the way, if I didn't make that clear. It towered over you.
All right. Well, Dewberry sounds like a great place to start. You said it's to the north? Can I just take the road north, or do I have to do a zigzag thing to get there?
And she says, "You'll be able to find it. I was about to say mark it on your map. I will show you where. And let me show you where. Let's see. It is... Where's my Great Forest at?
That's Great Forest.
There we go. Yeah, so it's far to the northwest. And in fact, right here is where we're looking at. The village of Dewberry is...
That's near my home.
I'm sorry?
That's near Ashflower's home. He's from the Great Forest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I'm gonna talk about that when we actually get to that point, because that will have some valuable information that you might be able to provide as part of this. So yeah, it's and you, I would say, probably have never heard of this place, probably, Muriel. It's this, so it can't be a big place, but you've certainly never heard of it as far as you know. But she says, "Go there and you will find what you seek."
Okay, thank you. Here's a sandwich for payment.
And she looks at the sandwich and she says, "My payment is in the knowledge you've provided me.
So you don't want the sandwich?
Thank you for that knowledge, dear."
Okay, I'll take the sandwich. It's ham, so it's my favorite. But thank you. And then I scamper off as well as one can in a hovel where your knees are touching an old crone.
Basically, right? Yeah, you're kind of like crouched all the way out and then lift
Yep.
up. Muriel,
I love Muriel so much.
I want to ask if you are, I'm guessing you will, but I don't want to, it's up to you. If you're going to be trying to essentially Avengers Assemble, if you're going to try to reassemble the party to help you with this trip, since you don't know exactly where it is. She told you north of the forest, but the Great Forest, but that's that's like saying I live in New York City, with 8 million other people, right?
Yeah, right.
So, Yeah.
Yeah, so I imagine in true Muriel fashion that this will be like, I'll be heading out of town very excited and then stop and be like, I don't know where I'm going. Shoot. And then flip around and go back to the tavern and be like, I need to send letters. I don't know where I'm going.
So I'm going to ask you, Ashflower, I believe at this point, is going to be Regina and Reginald, I think, are going to be in the graveyard, probably chatting.
Well, if she's at a tavern, I can be there.
Or, well, it's up to you. The question is who Muriel wants to track down first. Because I would say, you know, do you want to go find Ashflower first, or do you want to go get the Regina Reginald group, or do you want to just, yeah, it's up to you.
Probably head to the tavern, gather thoughts, and then decide what I'm doing. So if I bump into Regina there, then that's convenient, and then we can go from there.
That seems reasonable to me. So when you enter the tavern, you do in fact see Regina there. Regina having built up quite a tab over time, but has been able to pay her bills due to her entertaining of the city folk, which mostly involves going over and beating the hell out of city dwellers that don't think a sprite is going to be very dangerous. And so she's made a good deal of money this way. Any of you who have seen The Mandalorian and know the character of Cara Dune, I won't say anything about the actress, just the actor, just Cara Dune. But if you know the character, that's sort of a similar thing. Right? Just fighting in a bar for one supper, as it were. So Regina, you have just finished a very satisfying night of cracking skulls together. A couple of particularly irritating ruffians who were kind of like, you know, we've heard all this stuff about sprites, but you ain't got nothing for us. And they said that until you knocked them out and left them on the ground. When they woke up, they apologized to you and crawled out. So at the moment, you're feeling, I would say, fairly good. And you see Muriel come into the tavern looking somewhat excited, I guess might be the term.
Okay, wonderful. I fly to the bar. I buy one huge jug of something really alcoholic. I fly over to Muriel, and I'm like, hi, can you hold this for me for a moment? And I hand the jug to her.
Oh, sure, of course, Regina. Regina! Regina! Yeah,
You're so good at holding my alcohol. I just wanted to check.
I am still good at it, and I
Yes!
had actually reached out and grabbed it without even realizing who it was.
Sure, I'll take it from you.
I was looking for you. I was looking for anyone. I have a lead for a quest.
Uh-huh.
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 We need
Quest
to
for what?
go to Dewberry.
Why?
There's a big toad there, and diamonds, apparently.
Oh. I would like to say you had me at Big Toad, but it wasn't that way.
That's okay. I will hold your alcohol if you come with me.
Yes. Yes, that's a very good argument. And that's what we shall do.
Okay, great. I feel like we need more than just us, because I still don't know where Dewberry is. Do you know where Dewberry is?
No. I have
Okay.
no clue where Dewberry is. Is that even a place? It sounds
is
like
a
something
place.
to eat.
It should be a place. It's not something to eat.
Maybe it is actually Blueberry and you misunderstood.
That's possible,
Yeah.
but unlikely.
You can also make alcohol from blueberries.
This is true. That's blueberry spirits are actually pretty alright, but that's not the point. The point is that we need to find somebody who knows the Great Forest area. And I don't, because I grew up not there.
Ah, the Great Forest, yes.
Yes.
Oh. Oh my. Okay. Well, I mean, we could ask Reginald.
I think we should ask Reginald. He's been around for a really, 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 really long time.
Yeah, but he doesn't leave the city. But on the other hand, I always feel like he doesn't really have anything to do because dead people can wait.
That's true. What if he buried someone from over there? Maybe he, knows things.
And we should also find Ashflower, but I don't think you can really find Ashflower. I always feel like Ashflower finds you, and I'm not sure I'm fine with that.
I'm kind of fine with it. I think he has cool horns.
Oh yes, he has very cool horns. I think more people should have horns like Ashflower.
I agree. They're very cool.
You
How
know,
about
they could be like a transport thing for wary sprites. They could sit in their horns.
Oh, that would be cool.
Yes.
You could just get drunk and hang out in his horns.
I thought so, but I didn't dare to ask.
I'll ask. It'll be fine.
Yes, please.
Okay, how about this is going to be totally crazy, and I'm sorry if it's weird, but I'm just going to think really hard that we need Ashflower to show up, and then we'll go see Reginald.
Yes, let's do that for a moment.
We'll do that.
You do the hard thinking, and I'll just be here.
Okay, you just be here, and I'll think really hard.
Yes.
And Muriel's face just like gets
I'll
all
guard
scrunched,
you.
and she's just like,
I'll guard you.
Okay.
Bane starts going in the side of your head.
Do you actually wait to see if the heavy thinking plus guarding works, or do you do this while en route to the graveyard to find Reginald?
we do it while en route, because I'm thinking, meet us at Reginald's.
I like this image of you like walking along, going with like the sprite right next to you, like Regina, just like looking like, what? You got a problem?
Thinking super hard about it while
Yeah.
holding her alcohol.
All right, as you make your way in this route, I would say, Reginald, that it has been today a very taxing day at the graveyard, I think might be a good way to put it. A lot of new graves put in, people sort of changing their minds at the last second. A couple of people have inconveniently died out of nowhere. You know, the kind of thing that, like, you know, they'd just be nice enough to kind of schedule it better, but just there's no consideration these days for the living or the dead. And so, you know, you've had a lot of these things that have been happening. And so you are hard at work, I would say, probably digging the fourth and final grave of the new set of people that weren't supposed to even be having today. When you can hear behind you what sounds like a combination of the buzzing of wings, and then I guess the way I would describe this is, if there's a sound of someone gritting their teeth, that might be the sound, like, that might be the sound of something that you're hearing. And as you turn around, you can see Regina flying sort of with her head on a swivel, like looking left and right, and Muriel, who has her face scrunched up and is holding a jug of something. And they're...
Reginald!
Yeah.
Look! She is carrying my alcohol. Do you know what this means?
You got bored again?
No, it means we're on a quest for blueberries.
Reginald pauses, looks at Boots, who's about eye level, because Reginald's in the grave at this point. Boots, I forgot to introduce at the start of the stream, Boots being Reginald's ghost dog companion.
Yes.
A former family pet who passed on, but didn't go away, because he likes to stick around.
Because he's a good boy. You know.
He's a good boy, yeah, in life and death. And I look back again, like, blueberries.
No, dewberries.
Dewberries.
Yeah, just like that, except more toady. Like, if you could put toad in it, that would be exactly what... Dewberry is a place. We're going to Dewberry. We need to go find a toad and apparently diamonds. Do you know where Dewberry is?
Rainforest? Reginald may have heard of that, but I doubt he's been there.
Yeah, I will say, I think I can have you do a lore test for this, actually. This is going to be, though, this is going to be moderate, because I think I think you have heard of it, but in terms of what in fact it is, that's something which perhaps you'll be able to gather some information.
Okay, so I get a +4, luckily, on lore, because I have a focus in it. Well, I have lore specifically, and then I've got ancestry as my specialization, so it's going to be D6 plus.
Oh yes, is this the part where we should bring up the skill check, the super
For the benefit of the viewers at home.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. So again, the handy dandy skill check items, which is Do you have the skill? If no, roll 3d6. If yes, do you also have a focus in the skill that fits the situation? If no, roll 3d6 plus aspect. And if yes, roll 3d6 plus aspect plus 2, provided to you by Pyronjate.
Just to make this clear, Regina is from the Great Forest, but due to her nature, she is not really clear about geography or the things that were there or how she exactly got to the city.
I wondered if you were gonna, but yes.
So there might be Dewberry, but maybe not. She's not really... And on the other hand, she doesn't really think it's a problem because other people might know.
Right. Okay.
Okay, so I got a 16 with no doubles or triples.
Yes, I think that is enough for you to be able to know that Dewberry is a small mining village. It is quite small, actually. There's maybe, I don't know, a handful of miners, and it usually has been the kind of place where the mine is sort of brought out various things over the years, but it's always been like there's a little coal and maybe there's an occasional discovery of like a ruby that you could mine or two, but like it's not really very much, and you know, that kind of thing. It's one of those things where it's barely enough to keep a very tiny place rolling, but I mean that's all. It is the opposite of what you would think of as a place where something exciting would happen.
Some sort of small mining town beyond the Great Forest. Ain't rightly spent any time there myself.
That is a great start, because we didn't even know that.
And now you could spend time there with us.
Yes, would you like to spend time there?
With us.
You mentioned diamond.
Well, there's something about there being a lot of diamonds, but I'm mostly interested in the gigantic monolith toad.
As a druid, would Reginald know anything about gigantic monolith toads?
You would know that they don't exist. You've never heard of a giant monolith toad, and if that's true, that's not balanced in nature. Toads are a certain size, you know.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Could be trouble. Toads, not usually giant. Big, aye. Especially if there used to be people.
This one might have been more than people, but I'm not sure. I just know that he was about that tall, and I point as high up as I possibly can.
Seems about right.
I mean, but Muriel, why do you want to talk to the toad?
He's gonna help me with my book.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, if you would like to come with us, Reginald, you're welcome to. I've been thinking really hard that Ashflower should show up sometime soon, and I don't know if that's how you actually reach him. But I tried.
Ain't rightly seen him in a while.
I know.
But
he just wafts in and then wafts back out with his fancy horns.
Guts to finish this burial. They paid up front, then died a fortnight earlier than they should have.
Rude. Gosh,
Yeah.
Can you believe people? They are just not considerate.
It's completely fine to be inconsiderate from time to time. Also, when you're dead, nobody can actually really blame you because you're like kind of out of it.
Yes, that's true. It's not their problem anymore, is it?
Nope. Just glad they didn't do the die now, pay later scheme.
Muriel's really thinking about that.
Maybe we could have Ashflower, balance something? We are at the graveyard anyway. Do you have any other customers coming up who might just want to be early?
Weren't supposed to have these for.
Sorry?
People die.
Yes.
I have no bookings.
Oh, but Ashflower has.
Ain't seen Ashflower in a while.
I feel like you two could be in business, just saying.
That's
Two
not
sides of the
how
same
this
wheel.
works.
Maybe we could just shout.
I feel like the world is really, really big. He could be anywhere.
I don't care about things being big or not.
I just was thinking about the physics of shouting with enough reach in order to reach Ashflower's ears so he would know that we want him to show up.
Yeah, but he might be like 2 meters behind us and we wouldn't know.
I turn to
If we would.
Boots.
I've been thinking really hard and we're talking about him kind of loudly.
Yeah.
I turn to Boots and I'm like, "Hey, boy, remember Ashflower?
He nods.
Can you find him?"
And he like zips off. Ashflower, where are you in the city right now?
I am in the nearest market, surrounded by human beings and other species practicing by limited but refined social skills.
Oh, I see. Yeah, yeah. And as I note that something was just told to me, referring that
Yep.
same comment. Okay, good. So while you're there, that's right. Ashflower was remote controlled by 3 other persons. That is the case, but no
Yes,
longer.
that was
His
an
real
unfortunate
controller is
episode.
returned. So
Everyone took an antler.
So you are at the moment browsing through the market and looking at various wares, and it is it's busy. The thing about the city is that the market runs pretty much like all day and night practically. It's almost 24 hours a day, and you are in the midst of discussing things with one proprietor when you feel a very strong chill right by your legs. There's kind of a coldness by your legs that just sort of came there suddenly.
But if I were to offer you a single gold coin for this item that is clearly not worth 1,700 gold coins, would you be receptive of this?
Oh, go on. It's all the same these days. You have people come into the city and think they can rob us because you're smarter than we city folk. Well, you ain't. It's worth 1,700, and that's what I'm saying. The cold has gotten much more significant, Ashflower, and now it feels
I completely ignore the proprietor. I just, okay. And I look down.
Okay. Now, quick question, Reginald. Boots is able to manifest and I believe materialize so others can see him when he chooses to be seen, right?
And depending on other events, but yes.
Okay.
Because he got spotted when I sent him scouting last session.
Okay, that's what right, because of that, yeah, that's what I thought. Okay. So, when you look down, you see kind of a wispiness at first, Ashflower, and you're kind of like, you blink a few times, and then
Not
you look
normal
down
for a
and you
Tuesday.
see you're pretty confident you see the somewhat familiar face, although just vaguely visible spectrally below you, of Reginald Shoon's dog, Boots, if you're not mistaken, looking up at you, and it kind of, and then it turns and walks away a few steps and looks back at you.
Boots, my dear spectral friend, and this is.
What are you
quite
talking
loud
about,
in this
Boots?
marketplace.
We're talking about not boots.
Right.
It's a cloak, and it's 1,700 gold. And the proprietor's like,
Not you, meat sack. Go away.
"What?
Boots, my
Meat
dear
sack.
spectral friend, and I
Hear
walk
that, eh?
over to Boots.
Okay.
I will kneel by Boots. I said not now, okay? I kneel by Boots, and in a quite exaggerated way, I just start talking to Boots like a normal human being. Like, Boots, it's been so long since our last social interaction. How have you been, and how is your general demeanor?
And so you hear from above you from the proprietor, "He's a loony, that one." And from down where you
Yes,
are,
I've been called far worse, thank you.
when you're down there, you can see Boots is like, and then sort of looks at you and would be, kind of licks your hand, which just feels like, coldness going across your hand. and then walks a few steps.
Excellent.
Out of the market area and looks back at you again, his tail wagging slightly.
I would be delighted to join you on your journey this afternoon. We shall go to where you wish to lead me, and I follow Boots.
Okay. As you're on your way out, the one yells out, I don't think I'm going to give you any benefits just because you've got some mental disease. I don't know what you're saying, but all right, you got me fooled. And if you find a better offer, come back to me first. Maybe you make it 500 gold. Ashflower, you are led by Boots, who keeps sort of winking in and out of sort of sight. Generally, you notice as other people come by, he kind of vanishes and then comes back. And it's pretty
Whilst
clear.
this is happening, people can probably hear the most generic one-sided conversation that's ever happened. A reasonable volume as well. So I'm asking Boots how the weather is, how their in-laws are, how their job is going, how about that sports team, all of these things as we're walking through the streets.
And you notice that every so often people are kind of like, as you walk by, or they sort of start as if they thought you were talking to them. However, since it is the city, most people don't pay a lot of attention because it's the city. But you note soon that Boots is clearly leading you towards the graveyard. After a few more minutes, it's very obvious that's the case because he brings you up to the front gates. He just, phases in and out past the front gate, obviously without having it to be open.
Boots, our old haunt, eh?
And Boots kind of looks back,
Eh?
wags his tail
Eh?
several times in golf clap fashion. It's a golf wag, if you will. Then turns around and walks further up the path into the graveyard and looks back at you. So you'll have to open the door or open the gate.
Yeah, absolutely. I wander straight in.
Okay. Actually, Reginald, is the graveyard locked at night or is it not?
No, I would say, because Regina and Muriel have already got in, so...
Well, that's true. I mean,
Yeah.
I guess, Regina could have flown over it theoretically. But actually, the graveyard probably is big enough that people visit it at different hours, too, I would imagine. So, Ashflower, you make your way up, and pretty soon, Reginald, you actually can see that Boots is coming up to you. And behind him, very happily chattering away about, life, and, another thing about this crazy weather we're having, and... what is it with the Kardashians? All that. These pleasant conversations are happening. As you are making your way up, you see Ashflower making his way up behind Boots. And Boots comes up to you and kind of wags furiously and then looks back around at Ashflower and then looks back at you and wags again.
I wave at all three. I wave at everybody. Hello, my friends from a previous adventure. How are we doing today?
I look to Boots again. You sure you found the right ash flower?
And he kind of... sort of his tail stops wagging and he kind of...
Oh, Reginald, always such a... take out a small notebook. Flick through a few pages. Card. Always such a card with the puns. Yes, it is I, Ashflower. I have been practicing... More flicking through a tiny book. Social interactions. Isn't it going brilliantly?
You can also just punch people just to offer alternatives.
Yes, that's definitely a way of interacting with people.
Yes.
I have found that people are most receptive to someone with a large smile, a loud voice, and an open heart.
How did you find that out?
I have spoken to many people during my time here. I spent many days in one of the forests nearby and came back because I wished to learn better social interactions with other beings unlike myself. Though I have met other beings like myself and other lay walkers, they were not as receptive to some of my social interactions. The humans, however, have been delightful, pleasant little creatures. what brings us to this wonderful graveyard? I have an excellent, more flicking through a small book, pun for this place. This is our old haunt.
Boots whines and curls up and like puts his head on his paws.
I just start thinking.
Reginald shovels some more dirt into the grave.
I knew you would all
I see
appreciate
what you
that
did
one.
there. You did hot, and we're in a graveyard.
See? Muriel gets it. What
Flower.
brings us
Ash
all
flower.
to our
Ash
first
flower.
old haunt?
Ash
Hello.
flower. We need.
Muriel, my mysterious and wonderful friend. How are you
Yes.
doing today? Crazy weather, eh?
Yes. Wait. Is the weather weird? I'm just looking around. Like,
It's not. It's just like normal, you know.
Yeah, it's never that weird, to be honest.
Anyway, we need to go. We need directions. If you are the directions giving kind of laywalker, we need to go to Dewberry because of a giant toad.
I make an audible gasp when she says Dewberry. I know of Dewberry. That's just north of... And you realise I'm not speaking in like loud kind of obnoxious tones at this moment. I'm like, Dewberry, that's north of the Great Forest. I mean, there's not a lot there. It's a hole in the ground. It's a mining town. But that's where I have been before. I've been there.
You've been there! Oh, good, oh, good. Okay, we need to go there because there's a big toad who's going to tell me about my book. And also diamonds, apparently. But I don't really care about that part.
Is this the book from a few weeks ago that you got from the chapel?
This is definitely that book.
This is definitely that book. So I'm guessing this is a special book then.
It's a special book. It's a book about sorcerers. Written by a sorcerer.
How exciting.
It is so exciting.
Well, that sounds... I flick through my little book again. Splendid. That sounds splendid. I would love to accompany you on this flick mission, and hopefully I will be of some use in this endeavor.
You'll be very useful
Tell me.
if you stop talking like
Tell
that.
me, is there anybody else joining us in this adventure, or is it just us?
It's our posse. Put that in your book. That's a good one. Posse.
Posse. So nobody else. So it's yourself, me, Regina, and Reginald and Boots. Correct.
Yep. And the book.
And with this, Ashflower just shoulders just slump, and you realise that he's just like his head hangs a bit. He's like, "Oh, thank the hells! These people are so annoying. I can't keep this up much longer. Get me out of the sea."
You could have just punched them.
I just go up and give
wanna leave.
Ashflower a hug, and it's okay. I know it's hard.
I try to lean my head on you, and every now and then you're just like, "Ow, my eye! Ow, my ear! Ow, antler!"
I love your horns, but they hurt.
I lean my head back and accept the hug. I'm just like, oh. For almost 100 years, I have wandered around the different towns and forests of this world, and you three are the only people, and Boots, obviously, who I have coped with any length of time being in the company of. People are so annoying. I don't understand. Why do they talk about weather
I know.
It's happening anyway.
sports?
Sports is cool though.
No, what are sports even? You just take a whatever and you go back and forth, and
Yes.
why? Why?
In
Why
the end, you have a
I
winner,
don't
and it's
know.
really
just
good to
put
be the
it where
winner.
it goes and leave it there. Just stop taking it back and forth.
It's good to be the winner. Sports is about being the winner. But just for future reference, alcohol and brawling is complete replacement for everything you've been doing.
I have tried alcohol. It does not work. I have tried
Of course it
lots of
works.
alcohol. It does not on me.
No,
And I kind of motion to
the
myself,
words.
like, not on me. I don't know why.
Maybe we need to find the right alcohol for you.
We should hang on. Side
Yes.
quest.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, we should have a side quest.
And that
Finding
is,
the Laywalker.
I would be. I am told, and I have seen many times because of the beings in this city, and I look over to Reginald, I'm like, no offense to your clientele, that alcohol dulls the senses. Well, by the great wizard's portal, if I have to spend one more day in this city, I'm going to need something to sever my senses. Please, let's just get out of here. I can't take this anymore.
It would be nice to get away. They've started showing me bits of themselves and asking things like, why has this gone green? Why is it dripping? What do I do about it? Look at this rash.
How do dead people show you bits of themselves? Do you not bury them properly?
I think they want to avoid being dead.
But you only see them after the fact.
Until recently. Somehow, a bit of medicine knowledge I offered to someone. It worked. Yeah.
You've become a healer of sorts. A healer of meatbags.
Now they come to me to bury the dead and to stop them being dead.
Well, that's just
I suppose it keeps the balance.
Well, yes. In theory, that's very true. I mean, there's nothing stopping you from giving them incorrect advice if they are of certain, lifestyles. Maybe they are not a very nice person and they come to you and want to know, why is this green and drippy? And you say, it's perfectly fine. Don't worry about it. Leave it alone for 6 to 8 months and you'll be perfectly fine. I'll see you again in 3 weeks.
Yeah, word gets out if you try that too much. I bury the outcomes of others that try that.
I just there's a moment where you kind of see Ashfar kind of like touch the back of his neck, like, not if you're careful. So Dewberry.
Dewberry! Yeah, we need to go
I
there.
thought it was do.
It is like that. It's Dewberry, but as a toad, so it's like dew.
I mean, I'm not a native to that place, so it could be.
I mean, if you have a
Berry.
frog in your throat, I can help with that.
No, well, no, it was a.
Are there
it was
more
a
enchantresses
frog
around?
saying it, so it wasn't a froggy person. It was a toad, and he was this big, and he looked very regal. So we need to go talk to him.
I mean, if they do have
With
that
absolutely
toad in
no
Dewberry,
word.
they will know.
Yes, with absolutely no word, I hug Muriel and I tell her that I have missed you and your fascinating ways so much over the last few weeks.
It's a good thing we're going to Dewberry because then we can hear your horns.
I understand you less now than I did a few weeks ago, and it still fascinates me.
That is so fun! I'm so excited. We should get rations.
Reginald pats down
I
the
would
last
probably
shovelful
need
on the grave that he was filling. Well, that about does it for them.
Wow! Regina flits behind the mausoleum that had the talisman and comes back with her backpack. I have my stuff. Muriel has
Have
my
you
alcohol.
been living here?
No.
So I go behind one of the larger gravestones, and I get my backpack as well. Just to point out, I have definitely not been living here. But this place is free, and apparently you need money, which is a completely made-up concept anyway, thanks, Your Highness, to stay anywhere that isn't a street, other than a graveyard.
That is very true. I am now out of money because I stayed not here, and I'm feeling very silly about that.
See?
Yeah.
You
That could
could
be
have
so.
at least asked.
I should have asked.
But this This is
Yeah, you should have asked
our
Reginald
old
whether you can
haunt.
also come to the graveyard, where I have not been staying. So we could
I
have
made
been
it
here
very
together.
clear, and I have made it very clear that I was not staying here.
I just have my backpack with me, so we're good.
Reginald's just looking at the two of them with the deadpan face that only a magically dead alive person can have.
I mean, I was gonna say, of course it's deadpan.
Yep.
Just absolute
Ba-dum-tish.
deadpan.
Oh man. And thank you for the follow, Fractal Mind Mike, on my channel. All right. So once you have made your decision to head to Dewberry, I'm going to take a moment and welcome everybody who is here watching episode 284 of Pen and Pixels. I am joined by the amazing and awesome GOG crew of Pyron J, Darksaber2K, Peripheral Mike, and Tasty Chai playing Talisman Adventures. As always, we are sponsored by Pegasus Spiele here on GOG.com, and this adventure is called Toads and Diamonds, as the party continues their adventures to either Dewberry, or if Regina gets her way, Blueberry. We'll have to see what ultimately happens one way or the other. But, okay. So, the normally we would do, but we won't have to do it for this, actually, the trip, because the trip itself, although it is extensive, is fairly leisurely. There's no, like, immediate, I have to get there in a certain way. And so the particular place that we're talking about north of the Great Forest is right to the southwest here of the Crags. And Dewberry itself, as of course Ashflower knows very well, and as probably Reginald would sort of vaguely know a little bit, is found at the foot of Moonbreak Tor, which is south of the Crags and just north of the Great Forest. The town is nestled at the base of the southern side of the Tor, and there is a track that winds from the village up the side of the Tor, and about halfway to the top there's this winding series of switchbacks, you know, these back and forth pathways that eventually lead you to the entrance to a mine. The village gets its name, Ashflower knows, from the large number of dewberries which grow in the region. They are white with tiny red spotted flowers, and they produce these small translucent berries which are known for their alleged healing properties and their usefulness as a sleep aid. In fact, there's been quite a bit of controversy around the dewberries. In the past, they were originally illegal, but then people used to sort of grow their own. Then there were all these studies that came out about the medicinal benefits of dewberries. There is actually a sort of shorthand for it known as DBD, and you know, so a lot of people are now able to sell those, and they're beginning to become legalized across much of the city. And so you've seen little signs popping up in the city like having trouble with weight, bothered by mental problems, try some DBD, the freshest DBD, and all that stuff. So dewberries are the main place. Sounds like something else. I don't know what you mean. So that's where it gets its name from. But you know that the village itself is mostly known, medicinal benefits, yes. Most of the village gets its sort of attention and time from the mining that it does there, although, as I say, the mine's never really been that successful. And so I want to pick up here when you arrive in the village of Dewberry. And it's a beautiful morning. You're getting there basically late morning, probably about 11 a.m. or so. You know, the sun is heading towards zenith. This is in the early fall that we're talking about here, so it's not, you know, incredibly hot. You know, it's the Great Forest itself is just starting to show maybe the color changing on some of the leaves and all this kind of stuff. And so, you know, you're feeling, I would say, in probably pretty good spirits as you arrive. You've been talking to each other and joking and also learning things. Ashflower's learned other things to put in his book. Muriel continues to think about what is actually in her book that she has. Reginald and Regina, of course, have been chatting back and forth. I imagine Reginald has occasionally been asking Regina, so, like, how long have you been in the graveyard? And, you know, and Regina being like, I don't know what you mean. Like, my stuff was there, and that's all that mattered. You know, so this is going on, and you sort of are drawn away from your conversations when, as you were entering into this village, there is, I think it's fair to say, first of all, the sound of shouting. So you hear just this, and you hear a lot of, there's a shouting sound, and a lot of people what sounds like crying, but there's also this other weird sound that you can't quite make out, but it sounds sort of like this weird, like, low-pitched, bassy, rumbling sound. Multiple of them, actually. And as you come around the corner, sort of where the pathway leads into the village and then turns into the main square, you see that there are a couple of dozen villagers clustered around an old well in the center of the square. And they are shouting and crying and faintly pointing at, and now you see what the other sound is coming from, a large group of toads. There are a few toads who are sitting on the ledge of the well. The rest are hopping about on the ground. And some of the villagers you can see are like pursuing the toads. Others are down on their hands and knees and they're trying to like talk to them or feed them. You can see one of them doing them. One of them seems to maybe be singing to them. And there's one weeping young woman who sits with her back against the wall holding a large toad in her lap. And she rocks back and forth and seems to be saying, "Oh, Ben. Oh, Ben, I just know it's you. Ben, what have they done to you, my Ben?"
I look at Muriel.
That you see.
I look at Muriel. Could your giant toad have, like, kind of popped into a lot of small ones? Is that possible?
I mean, he's a giant toad. He's not supposed to exist, so I don't see why not.
Okay, then this is what happened.
That is very possible.
I lean
You
over
should
to Muriel and say, "Is this where enchantresses come from?"
That's also possible, because I don't know.
It's like a spawning ground.
Maybe we should ask.
This might be where enchantresses are born.
I go over to the crying woman and just ask, like, what happened here? If you could give me a rundown, especially minute by minute, that would be very useful.
Well, and she kind of looks up at you. I would like you to make for me an investigate test. This is insight based. So again, using our handy dandy skill check thing. If you have investigate, do you have investigate? Yes. So then do you have a focus in the skill which fits this situation?
I don't think so. I have empathy, but I don't think so.
Yeah, so that would be then just 3d6 plus the aspect in question.
Well, that's still totally fine, because you said it was insight.
I did. All right.
14.
Yes, and so she says, well, all right. So we got a standard success there. And she says, "Well, this is my Ben. My Ben, you know. He's mine, I'm sure of it. I don't know what they've done to him, though." And you can hear a bunch of other people now, Ashflower and Reginald and Regina, as you're sort of near Muriel, can hear a bunch of other people sort of like calling toads by various names. Like, "Oh, Francine, why don't you know who I am? Steve, now you listen to me. You stop hopping about like that. Oh, Trent, why? Trent, why?" Like, so they're all using names to refer to these toads.
So everyone seems to think that, I'm guessing, loved ones have been toaded. Why would you go about thinking that instead of thinking that you just have a whole bunch of toads?
Well, there's a terrible mix-up with people's pet toads.
Yeah.
Oh no,
Yeah.
we will have to find that amaranth stuff again.
Oh,
Bear with me 1 second, hold on.
okay.
Amaranth, that was it. I was trying to remember what the herb was.
Yeah.
Purple amaranth.
Luckily,
Wait,
we know where it is.
something-
It's behind an impassable tree.
Yes, on the opposite side of the Talisman land.
Sorry about that.
On the opposite side of the outer realms.
The Amaranth is where the bugs are, the beetles.
Yeah, that was where the beetles were.
Yes.
Yes, it's very true, but the tree was more difficult to overcome
Yes,
than the beetles.
it was.
So, so what she begins to explain, and you start picking this up from some people around you as well. She says, "Well, you see, Ben here." And Ben says, "Roar," if that is Ben. Ben here. Well, he works in the mines, like all of these do, and well, usually they go and they work in the mine. They come back and they sleep at night here, in the town with the rest of us. But well, they didn't come home last night. None of them did. None of the miners did. And well, we went up there, and a few people went up to the mines, and we found these toads. There were 20 of them hopping about. 20 of them. That's exactly how many miners that went up there. It was 20 miners. And all there's left now is just these toads. Well, we picked up some of them, but the rest followed them back to town. And well, someone did something. And now what are we going to do to get our own back? Ben. Oh, Ben.
About halfway through that conversation, Muriel goes, "You weren't using toads to mine. They used to be people. Okay, I got it."
She gives you this horrified, "What?" kind of look. And Ben's like, "What?"
Reginald just frowns at Muriel in puzzlement.
I mean, maybe it was a really small mine. Maybe the diamonds are yet. You know what? I'm not even going to get into it. The point is that I followed you. I followed the train of thought, and I did not think that there were toad people in the mine. Okay, so where is the mine?
We don't need the mine. We need purple amaranth.
No, not you. But what if we need to go to the mine to turn off the spell? Because otherwise we go get the amaranth and then they just re-toad.
But wouldn't it be good in such case to have amaranth?
I mean, eventually, yes, but we should stop the toading first.
I think we should get some, or look for some amaranth.
I
look
look
at the
Muriel,
woman.
is that
Is
how,
this a
is that
diamond
how magic
mine?
works?
And
I
she
actually
says,
don't know.
"Well, yeah, somewhat, miss. Yeah, the miners, they think they might have found some diamonds, but it's hard to say. The mine never gave us all that much, just some coal, and once in a while we did find one diamond here and there, but they said they found a whole big new amount. But now, well, who knows if it's even true, and what does it matter anyway?" She
Just asking.
cradles Ben. She says, "If you want to know more, you should talk to Mayor Aldwin. He's the one who ought to be figuring out how to fix this stuff. He didn't get turned into a toad, did he?" And Ben, "Whoa."
We could send him to the mine.
If we can turn some of them back, they could tell us a bit about the mine.
I would like to kneel next to one of the toads and pick one up.
Okay. It kind of is a
I'm
little bit
just
nervous
basically-
of you, so,
Which is understandable. So I'm just going to look at this toad and I'm going to examine it a little bit. Hello, friend. How are you today?
I just put my hand on Ashflower's shoulder and just like, not now.
Oh,
It looks like it
Okay.
says, "Roar."
I actually have speak with animals.
Bad time.
So, I also speak to the toad, but expecting actual answers. So I just asked the toad, "Were you?"
Hey, I was
people
expecting
yesterday?"
answers. I just didn't want. I didn't think I'd get them. Hey, I expected answers.
So yeah, I asked the toad with my speak with animals if the toad was people yesterday.
So the toad does something very odd when you ask this question. It sort of looks at you and then it gives you this mournful word. Now, this is a speak with animals spell. And what you're doing here in speaking to them, doesn't respond to you, which means either that this is not actually an animal, but a creature that has been transformed into an animal, or it could mean, and this would be worse, that this creature does not remember being a person now.
I mean, it's been less than 24 hours, so I'm not gonna go there yet.
True.
But, like, maybe if it had been a month or two, then I'd be concerned about that. But right now, we're just gonna say that they are, in fact, people. Just very, body conflicted.
Did the toad not answer you?
The toad tried to answer me, but mournfully could not, which means that the toad is people.
But the enchantress answered you when you talked to it as a toad.
Wait, did she?
Yes. That's how we found out about the amaranth, didn't we?
No.
Found it in
Yeah, we
her
read a book.
diary.
No, that was in
Found
a
it
book.
diary.
Yeah, that was in a diary.
Yeah. Yeah, the enchantress also croaked mournfully, I believe.
Not the type of croaking I'm used to.
I see what
Outstanding. I assume you write that down in your book
Excellent.
immediately.
Excellent.
Ashlar.
I've been
Excellent.
practicing.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay, so we're very sure that these toads are in fact people, if not the specific people that this kind lady believes them to be. No offense, kind lady, but we don't know that that's Ben. We're just pretty sure that that's Ben. So, I think we should go talk to the mayor.
No, it's taller than us.
Maybe he knows where the amaranth is.
I think we should also tell these people to keep these toads somewhere safe. If we do believe that these were
that's
actually
true.
people.
They need to corral the toads.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like
They're not used to
somewhere
being
moist.
toads. They're probably easy to hunt.
There's
They're
a lot of
probably
things that will
delicious
eat them
too, which
around
is why
here.
they need to corral them.
Yeah.
Yeah, somewhere moist is also
Moist.
Roasted toad is delicious.
true. It is. That's the problem. That's the concern here.
Ben says,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly.
I turn to Ben. I'm like, it's true. You are delicious roasted. I don't make these rules up.
You should be concerned. You should stay right where you are.
You should be glad we're considering this.
For your own good.
I feel we're doing really good on the people front thing.
Yes,
Our
our
social
people
skills
skills
have
are
excelled.
top notch right now.
Yes. I go over to the crying woman and I just put my hand on her shoulder and I say, you should definitely corral all of these toads because these toads are, and I lean in and I go, delicious.
what? And she looks up and she's like, that's my Ben. There's a
Exactly.
people.
That's the concern. Do you see those? And I point at birds.
What?
You see them? They're
I
greedy
would
little eyes.
put them somewhere safe. I would put all of these delicious toads somewhere very safe.
And she kind of like snatches Ben away and is like, you get away from him. You.
That's the right response. Be safe with your toads.
You should put him in a sink too, because if he dries out, that's not going to work either.
You hear a muffled from, where she's holding.
I turn to Muriel and I'm just like, no, dried toad is horrible. It's all chewy and
I know, it's
it's
just
not very
leathery
good as well.
and
You've got to keep it moist.
I know, you do. You really do.
Regina just like nodding along the whole time.
she-
Suddenly
she-
perks up with water.
Yes, that works too.
So the crying woman
Yes,
stands up.
so
booze bath?
keep the toads safe. Keep the toads safe.
Keep
That's
the
all we're
toads
trying to say.
So she stands up and glaring at the four of you. She walks over with Ben, still kind of sniffling, and she says, Mayor, these people, whoever they are, they're telling me to keep, they told me my Ben's delicious, they did. And she goes over and she's walking towards the under the eaves of this building, which is kind of the largest building in the town. And you see there is an elderly man there who is kind of got his hand on the shoulder of one person who comes and talks to him, and then he's sort of speaking and listening to someone else and nodding, and then he sort of turns as this woman is coming over and sort of half yelling, half calling for him, and sort of kind of looks and then listens to her, and then looks up at all of you and kind of nods to her and puts a hand on her shoulder and then walks over in your direction. He is an elderly man, and looks definitely, his face is wrinkled and weathered. His hands and arms are kind of tanned and scarred from long years of work and exposure and so forth. But he still looks, despite the fact that he's an elderly man, still looks to be in pretty good condition. And he comes over and says, yes, I understand you've come looking for us here at Dewberry. I'm Mayor Aldwin. What can I do for you all, please?
Well, it's not.
Muriel.
Well, no. First off, you got to get these toads in some water before they dry up and stop being people.
I lean over and helpfully add, and not boiling water.
Not boiling water, and not booze, Regina.
I'm sorry. Who are you?
Oh, I'm
Toads.
Muriel. It's nice to meet you.
Yes.
We are the Graveyard 4.
We are.
The Graveyard 4.
I'm Regina.
Yes.
Apparently they live in my graveyard. I only
I
I
recently
never lived
found
in your
out.
graveyard. I never lived in your graveyard.
I didn't live in your graveyard.
So he just
I may have
stares at
stored
all of
items
you.
there.
Just like he's like he stares at all of you, says, "Yes. Unfortunately, this is a rather busy time. If you have any questions of commerce, I'm afraid they're going to have to wait. And our current tour of the mines is not available. Is there anything else that you need?"
Is that because all of your miners are toads?
We have some experience with curing toadening.
We have done it before.
And he kind of stares at you for a minute, and he kind of looks as if he's trying to sort of get your measure, perhaps might be the way to describe it. And he
Have you not
says,
heard of the tale of the Graveyard 4 helping the mighty enchantress from her toadening exploits? Not 5 weeks ago? Surely it's reached this part of the forest by now.
And he says,
want to be the graveyard for.
Things take a long
Think of
time.
a better
to pass
name.
This way, actually, sir. And he says, but you say you're adventurers? You have experience with these matters? He looks vaguely skeptical at the whole you have.
Oh,
experience
yes.
thing.
Extensive experience. We have definitely cured very important people of Toad. And we know how to do it if you will assist us with a question or two and also the whereabouts of Amaranth. And you really got to get these toads in some water before the birds eat them.
And he kind of like he shakes his head as he's like trying to process all this, and he's like, and he says, well, I don't. And he kind of pauses and he says, all right. What I would say is that, well, we could use a little bit of help. The truth is, and his kind of voice lowers and he kind of leads you over a little bit to this area that's relatively unoccupied at the moment. Occasionally a toad hops by as you're talking, but otherwise. And he says, the truth is that nothing like this has ever happened here before. I've been mayor here for many years, and this is by far the strangest occurrence we've ever had. We must be some kind of curse, or perhaps some terrible spell, or perhaps a region of the mines that are dangerous, but it's the only money that we have comes from the mines, really, and we haven't been able to do anything else so far to gather more, well, attention, and yet somehow overnight this happens. And he lowers his voice and says, I wonder, but if it's true that you are indeed adventurers, I would greatly appreciate your assistance, at least in finding out what turned them into toads. These must be the miners. There's 20 miners, 20 toads? Well, wait, there's 19, and then, and he kind of, and he pulls out a small toad, and he's like, probably Farver. Farver, it always was underfoot. Now get out of here. And he's about to toss the toad, and then he sees that some of the villagers are looking at him, and he says, and he kind of puts down the toad gently, and then, shoo. And the toad hops off with a mournful croak trailing behind it. And he says, all right, well, we need help. Something must have turned them into toads. Can you help find out what it might be?
Yes. As long as you tell us where the mine is and where some amaranth grows.
This amaranth, you're not going to find any, I'm afraid, up here. Most of that grows much farther to the south and east. I believe that there was some, near I think it was the White Stable, farther south. In my youth, I lived down near the city. Split Oak, that's what it was. But that's far away here. We need help here, now. If I lose more villagers to becoming toads, well, we won't have a village left.
That's why I said we don't need the amaranth. We just have to turn off the spell.
You were completely right, but I still don't want us to be called the Graveyard 4 because you didn't stay in the graveyard. I didn't stay in the
Reginald
graveyard.
suddenly whips his head around at that.
Then we need to think of a better name.
We'll think of a
He
better
doesn't
name.
stay in my graveyard for.
What, are
I
you
mean, I
figuring
would've
out
stayed
your
in it.
group name right now?
This is not the time
I
of the
turn
place.
around, turn back to the mayor. I was like, no, we've sorted that out. Don't worry. And then I turn back. Look,
Reginald
you don't want
turns
to be
to the
called
mayor.
Graveyard 4.
We need to get into the mines, destroy the curse, get the giant toad and the diamonds, and then
Giant
we read the.
toad?
And then
So
we
they
read the
only
book.
miss-
Oh, no, there's no giant toad. There's no giant toad. Everything's fine. We just need to check out the mines to make sure that there's no spell there. That's all we have to do. There's no
Giant
giant toad.
toads don't exist.
Yeah.
I would
Definitely
like
not ones that are this big.
Muriel, I'd like you to make a persuade test for me. This is insight based.
I actually have that.
Oh, nice.
So then it's +2.
Wow. Good gravy. All right, so you also had that is also
got a
a
light
great
fate.
success and a light fate. Okay.
Absolutely
So
boss that roll.
I know. I was expecting to get 3 ones or something.
Yeah.
so he says, well, you said the diamonds, and there's an old legend. We've all heard it growing up here about myths and rumors, really, of the Cavern of Diamonds. It's below the tower, they say, filled with the most gorgeous display of diamonds that you've ever seen. It would be enough to keep our town running for millennia. We could do anything with it. It would be incredible if they've actually found it. Well, there's a legend of that, and I heard from one of the miners yesterday that they had just broken into a place, just cut through while they were mining, and that it might have led them to the fabled Cavern of Diamonds. But if it's true that there's some curse involved, well, that could be terrible. Also, if anyone knew that there was this Cavern of Diamonds, no matter what it does to them, some people might go and try to get it themselves, and maybe they'd be turned into toads. We don't have time for toads and diamonds. I just... If you could go and find out what's there, see if this Cavern of Diamonds is here, see if this thing is turning people into toads, if the cavern is, or the diamonds are, or something. But just, please, if you can, I'll give you 3 gold pieces each if you can find a way to restore the miners to their original form. And well, yes.
Okay. I like all of those plans. We need to know the entrance of the mine in order to investigate. And also tower. Did you mention a tower? Did I hear tower?
So he marks on your map. This time he actually marks on your map where the location
Yeah.
of the mine is. Because the village is right near it anyway, so it's more or less just like going up this set of switchbacks to get up to the mountain, to get up to the mine. I don't believe I mentioned a tower. I don't.
Okay, I wasn't sure if you said it was under the tower or under the
below
town.
the tower.
No,
said
below
like-
probably the. Did I say below the tower? I might have meant below the town. The idea
Yeah.
was that it was sort of like as
right.
they break through.
Yeah,
through the
okay,
mine,
that's what I
though.
thought.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
just like, is there a tower?
The Tower of Toads, where. No.
Yeah.
Tower of Toads and the Tower of Diamonds on top of it.
So yes, and he marks this on your map and says, "I will be most grateful if you can help us. Anything you can do to restore these poor people to being less toad-like."
Yeah, that seems very difficult, but we will try. We will do our best because we are the Graveyard Boy. Punch.
Reginald taps Muriel on the shoulder.
I was trying to be really excited and I hit my microphone.
It's alright, I do that all the time. It's fine. Don't worry about it. Gesticulate a lot.
Yeah, Reginald taps Muriel on the shoulder. What happens when we turn into toads?
It'll be a very small adventure.
Then we'll be the Graveyard Toads.
Can
So
you,
I would.
you magic people, can you find a spell?
Wait, a spell like...
I don't.
Like a
Like-
spell that turns people into toads.
I
Like
just,
a
I
magic.
just
Can I
point-
hone in on a spell?
Yes, can you maybe like have you maybe like spell detect or something?
Can you sniff it out?
Yes, maybe spell smell.
Some spells do, but this one does not, unless it smells like toads.
Yeah, but how? So we're just gonna walk into until one of us turns into toads, and we're like, "Hey, here's where the problem lies."
I was actually kind of expecting to encounter a monolith toad and ask him.
Okay, I can get on with that.
Yeah, it's kind of
Unless
what I was
he's
expecting.
turning them into toads.
Can Boots turn into a toad?
I've never tried.
I'm gonna say no, because he's incorporeal. That would recorporealate him.
I also don't want
Oh,
Boots
that
to
would
be a
be
toad.
nasty.
I like Boots as he is. Also, Boots finds stuff.
He does find stuff. Maybe he can
Boots
find
found me.
spells. Boots, can you sniff out spells?
Although I'm not hard to find in a crowd.
Did you say?
Anyway,
Can
Boots is a good boy.
Can you sniff out what? Did you say?
Spells.
Then
Can he find spells?
Boots is like,
That's what I expected him to say. Okay.
you have a feeling if you had
Boots
asked
is
him,
just
"Can you
happy to
sniff
be
out
here."
Peanut butter, griffins, like anything, you would have been like,
Yeah, like anything else. I turn to the mayor real quick and I just say, just in case, but do you have a herbalist who lives in the town? You know, somebody who might know some things about plants?
And he says, "Well, no, we have the owner of the general store. He's probably the closest one that we have to it. His name is Frederick. Oh no, he's not. He's also a toad. He mines and moonlights on the side as the general store owner, and well, that he's here somewhere. One of them. One of you, Frederick?" he says, and the toads as they're just running, hopping along.
Okay,
says-
okay, I've got another approach. Do you have somebody here in town that you really don't like? That nobody would mind being a toad?
I'm sorry.
Definitely not bait. Definitely not bait. But just like a mining canary, you know?
Maybe, maybe somebody in town who would be improved by being a toad.
He
Like a
says,
mining canary.
Ashflower just slowly turns his head over to Regina and Muriel. Right. No.
No, it's fixing
But
the balance
why?
because they're an unlikable person. And
That's
then we're
not how
undoing
it
the toadening
works.
right after.
That's
No.
not how the balance works.
Really,
that's
I
There's
don't
a
some-
know.
little crack of emotion in Reginald's voice.
I mean, that's sometimes how it works, but not in this case. No.
Okay, let's not make this about a balance, but maybe about sympathy. So, I look at the mayor.
And he sort of waits. He says,
You.
I cannot think of anyone that would be better off being a toad.
Do you have any prisoners nearby, perhaps?
Speak
People
up.
who have wronged your city, people who have murdered your inhabitants, people who have stolen from you quite vigorously. Anybody fit that description who's not already a toad?
He says, well, the only thing we have is, we don't have any prisoners right now. Sometimes when someone is unruly and is, thank you, when someone is unruly and is getting out of hand, well, we put them in the local prison. And, that's mattered by Kiora. Kiora is our blacksmith, and also is the, she just looks after them to make sure they don't get away. And, she's a miner.
Let me guess. Yeah, she moonlights as a miner. And
We don't
is
have
currently
anyone.
toad.
The only ones who are still here are the ones who are too young or too old or otherwise occupied to go into the mines. We have a small village here, and I have not been in the mines now for quite some time since I took
So you
over
send
my
your
mayoral
prisoners
duties.
to work in the mines?
Say again?
So you send your criminals and prisoners to work in the mines for you?
No, we don't do that. We don't have any criminals, really. Just some people who, perhaps have too much ale on a Friday night and, make too much noise, that sort of thing. We
That's
have
not
nothing
criminal.
anyone would want. We're just a small, humble village.
Okay.
Mine's been worked without trouble for years. It's reasonable to think it's only the new area that's caused the curse.
What about a dog? Or an actual mine canary? If you've got one of those, that would work too. Instead of
He
using
kind of-
people for that.
He kind of looks around. He says, well, there might be a few village cats, but they... Oh, hey, oh! And he tells, and you see that one toad is hopping at top speed away from a cat, which is like... which is like, playing with it,
Yeah.
trying to, and someone goes, no, that's Steven, don't deck Steven, you stupid cat, and starts
I chase
pushing
after
away.
the
cat's
cat, and I'm like, come here,
"Meow,"
kitty, come here, kitty, come here, kitty.
And the toads, like the other toads,
speak to
look
it in
very
cat.
angrily at the cat, and the cat's like, "Meow."
I chase the kitty. Can I catch the kitty?
You probably could. Let's have you make.
Just try and convince it in cat language.
That's true. I could just convince it in cat. I could just be like, hey, cat, would you like to help us?
I think this is an agility test. Muriel, that's what I think. This is a fast cat.
Whoa!
Wow.
I'm nailing
An
it.
extraordinary success. All right. So you.
You want that cat?
Yeah, you want that cat. So you basically just you like are running after it, leap after it, grab the cat, like the kitten, like wow, at the same time lift it up, flip it around, and toss it back to the party. It like rotates end over end over end until Reginald, poof, like it lands in your arms, and Boots kind of looks up at you, and the cat looks utterly stunned. Meow. And Muriel, right next to your shoulder, you hear, and you see a toad like looking at you solemnly as you look over.
I know. I'm working on it. Just be patient and get in some water before you dry out.
See, this is why we said you should probably keep them in a safe place, Mayor.
That is why we said that. This is why we said this, townspeople. This is
So
why
you
we
now
said
have a
this.
calico cat.
Calico
Reginald's
cat.
petting the cat.
Okay.
Love this.
It seems it's sort of like it's sort of either been startled to like to the point of being stunned by what has just happened in the last few seconds of its life, but it you pet it and then it begins to purr,
Yeah.
and so you have the purring sound being drowned out by the of the croaking of all the toads.
All right.
So I ride that cat into the mine, and if it turns into a toad, we're at the right place.
If it turns into a toad while you're riding it, you're likely to turn into a toad yourself.
But I'm not gonna ride on its head, so it should be further ahead of me.
I don't know why I don't know the answer to this question, but as it's magical in nature. But if Regina's riding the cat and the cat is turned into a toad, would both Regina and the cat turn into the same toad?
I'm not gonna ride the cat.
Just curious to find out.
Could you do it for science?
What's up,
Could
Kilgore?
we try this?
No, I don't even know who science is, so I'm not gonna do anything for them.
But think about how
Okay,
agile you'd be
for the
when you came
wonderful
out of
Miss-
cat form. You'd
For the
learn
wonderful
so much.
mysticism
I'm
of
not
the
cat.
universe.
Can we just
Were
let's
you,
go
were
into
you
the
purred?
mine?
So you sound like a cat.
Okay, we do it another way. We go into the mine and we just throw the cat ahead of us every few meters.
No, we're
No.
not throwing the kitty.
There's going to be barely any room in that mine, not even enough room to swing a cat.
Don't say it.
What's
Gets his little
that?
book out. He circles a pun in his book.
We are not
Like
throwing butterscotch. We're not doing that.
Who's
I've named
butterscotch?
the cat. The cat is now mine.
You're just naming it after alcohol, so I will not throw it.
Is butterscotch? Yes, that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm not thinking about candy. All right, butterscotch. If you would lead the way to the mines, please.
Okay, so, so what do you do with butterscotch? Do you put butterscotch down, or?
Oh yeah, I
Eat
guess
it
Reginald
towards the
has
line.
it.
Yep, butterscotch. You put butterscotch down. Butterscotch is like, immediately like takes off again. Not in the direction of anything, except maybe back into the village.
No.
Butterscotch is like, heck no. Apparently, I would have used more strong language, but okay.
All right.
Yep. Yeah.
Yes, I know you know.
Well, I think that recklessly entering the mines is our only course of options here, so we're going to do that.
You could track butterscotch down. In fairness, I don't mean to just take it away from you. You could try to find it.
You know, it's fine. The cat obviously doesn't want to help.
It's fine. We
I
get
don't
the
want to
point,
carry
it's fine.
around an ungrateful cat. So yeah, we'll just head up to this here checkmark place on the map.
That sounds like a plan.
Yeah.
Just before we go, however, Ashflower just approaches. He steps forward and just approaches the mayor, and he has his book in his hands. And he looks at the mayor and he says, "Did you agree with 3 gold?"
And I said, yes, I believe 3 gold for each of you was the agreement.
Okay. So he gets his book and he kind of flicks through a couple of pages. He looks at one section. He flicks back a few. He says, 2. And he puts his hand out.
He says, I'm sorry. You want
2 gold. 2 gold. Final offer.
all right.
What is he doing?
Done. He
Okay.
reaches
And
out
I
a
shake
hand
his- I shake
unsteadily.
his hand. Excellent.
Shakes his hand and says,
Thank you very much, sir.
You drive a hard bargain.
I
I've
flip
been
next to
practicing.
him. This is the advance money. We get the rest once we've done here.
Well, he didn't actually give you the money yet. He just shook your hand, and he says, "Well, payment is on delivery. You've just negotiated to 2 gold per person, so
No, that's the advance. He is only talking about the
No.
advance.
I'm only haggling for myself. I'm trying to get a better deal for myself because I have seen people haggling in marketplaces. The rest of the people can have their share.
No, you just
He doesn't speak for the group.
I just
Which
put my
does
hand
not
on
have a
his
name.
shoulder again and be like, not now. This is not the time.
But I'm haggling. I've
No,
seen
we
people
don't do
do
that
this.
now. We do that
No.
after we've done the thing, so
Oh.
we have haggling power. We do it after the thing, not before.
Oh, I see. I'll update this. Thank
We
you.
do it later.
Need to
We
get
just
that
have to
one.
do it really, really well. We untoad super well, and then we have bargaining power.
Yes.
Yes.
Being social is very difficult.
Yes.
Complicated. Anyway, onward.
Just walks around just making
The mines.
tiny notes in his little notebook.
here's some notes.
Haggle power. don't haggle before.
All right. Are you heading up to the mines from there? Or? Okay.
Oh, maybe is there something like a plan of the mines?
They have what they provide you is very haphazard. The problem is that the mine was reconfigured quite a bit in the last year. It used to be that the mine basically had one big long mine shaft out, and like outside of the shaft they like would mine to the left, mine to the right, mine to the left, mine to the right. But they have since done it a different way, where they've actually begun to bend the path and basically do multiple branches. And since they've done that, their old maps basically don't apply. So the people who have the maps are the miners, and the miners evidently are now toads. So they don't have really a schematic of the inside. He says it's a pretty simple path, though. The main shaft is really easy to get to, and that from there you can just sort of follow it downwards, and you should be able to find the diamonds without too much difficulty. He says, but again, Aldwin has not been in there for a while by his own admission. So,
Well then, this helps.
Okay. So you make your way up the side of Moonbreak Tor, which is pretty close, obviously, to the village. And it takes about an hour to hike up. And although the switchback, there are a lot of switchbacks, so it's not like really steep, your legs, except for Regina's, all definitely feel it by the time you get to the top. Regina's wings feel it by the time you get to the top, because it's definitely somewhat steep, these switchbacks, and even the air gets a little bit thinner up here because it's, it goes up a good long way. And after about an hour, you reach a large platform which is built into the side of the Tor about halfway up. And you can see that on the wooden platform, there are a bunch of things like barrels with pickaxes in them. There are some empty crates. You can see what looks like kind of a few kind of pathetic pieces of coal in one of the boxes. Maybe this is where they would lade some of their stuff that they found in the mine every night or something like that there. So you see these supplies at the entrance, and then there is this shaft that enters the mine, and this clearly is the entrance to these mines that you can see. And the shaft is sloping downwards into the mountain from the platform. Very good work, Sharon. I approve. Total power. Nice work.
Ashflower will remember this.
On total powers.
So, assuming that you're going down in that direction, the shaft is fairly wide. It's wide enough that the four of you could walk abreast without too much trouble. And there are tracks that show these sort of long wheeled tracks that show wagons that must have obviously, they're like wheel tracks where wagons must have hauled ore up from the mine shaft. And as you see that, and then you also note that along the side of the passage that you're running, that you're walking along, is this series of ropes. And you can see that there's a rope above and a rope below. And it basically looks like that this is a rope on a pulley system. So that the ropes are obviously attached to something, and that something is attached to the other side of the rope, presumably the wagons. So it might be that you pull the rope and that would make it easier to get the wagons out of it. But as you go further down, you can see that there is this rope continues, and then it ends and another rope starts, and there is a winch that is connected to it. So this big massive handle attached to the rope. And right beyond where the winch is, the shaft enters into what looks like essentially a complete drop, just free fall. And the rope extends over the free fall and down into it. So whatever this winch, the winch is attached to one other, attached to the rope. So whatever this rope is attached to, it is down into this pit, and the pit is in front of you. The shaft stops at the pit.
How did the toads get out of here?
It might have turned to toads after coming out.
I fly back and find out whether I'm going to turn into a toad if I fly out again.
Okay. you are the same as yourself. Nothing happens.
Okay. Nope.
For science, yay!
5 minutes in, not Toad. Good start.
This is very good start.
Very good.
I'm optimistic.
Could there be like
we find-
magic writing on the wall that turns people
Did we
into
find a
toads?
cat?
Is this a thing? Is magic writing on the wall that turns people into toads a thing? You magic people.
No. I think that things need to be directed, and that walls can't have intentions.
No,
In-
like the things that the other people sold, like runestones and stuff.
That's scaring me.
Hold a room.
You saw the same toading I did.
I didn't see a toadie.
I don't know much about magic. I made mostly of magic, but I know very little about casting it.
Really, toading is kind of a magic in its own, and that's not the magic I know. So, I don't think so.
Well, you I fly towards the chef. You want me to have a look down?
Sure, if you're willing.
Well, what could happen? I fly down.
What is the worst that could happen?
So
Indeed.
you head down, and actually, I need to think about our sprite. Is sprites able to see in darkness?
Nope.
Okay. So you go down, and
running into a
after a
wall.
little bit, I would say the light above you, which is disappearing rapidly, you almost bang into something which is suspended from the end of the rope. And you really can't see it, but as you kind of feel around it, it's obviously one of the wagons. So if you had to guess, you would assume that the wagons that pull the ore out, like a mine cart almost, that they're attached to this rope, and that the rope is used to pull the cart out of the shaft. And the shaft continues down, further below where you are. And I should say, just because I want to make sure I'm specifying this properly, it is a drop, but where you find the wagon is tilted. And so what it looks to you basically is there's a drop, and then there's another sloping tunnel that goes down. And so the wagon goes up the sloping tunnel, then as they pull on the rope, it goes up like this, right? And then gets pulled back into the next shaft. So they must have found a way to get down, and then the mine cart or the wagon continues to go down on the next level, which is sloping down again.
I listen for toads.
You listen for toads. Let's see.
Well, they did the croaking thing.
Yeah. Let's say that is a... Let's take a look and see. What would I call that?
Monsters in the dark.
Roll for initiative.
Yeah.
You find all the toads.
The wagon was a mimic.
No.
The wagon was a toad. Let's see.
The toad.
I don't know if Talisman has mimics, actually. I'm going to shut down this line of conversation immediately so we don't give people ideas.
Just
Yeah,
quickly
probably.
making a note about...
Wagon mimics.
I've never encountered them in the board game in any of the expansions I've used, but you're
I
talking
still
about
haven't played them.
hundreds of cards there, so they might exist.
Helmadin says the mine was a mimic. The entire mine.
Oh,
The mime is the toad,
Yeah. The mine was the toad.
and it has diamond teeth.
All right.
Nice.
I'm going
I think
to
it's the
ask
mayor.
you... Make a notice check for me, please, Regina. That'll be notice with wits.
Guess who has that?
You do.
At least I have something. That's good. Oh god, where is my thing? 1 moment. It's 3d6 plus wits. Roll. There we go.
You hear the sound of a slightly creaking rope, which is the one attached to the wagon that's in front of you.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay. I fly up and say, there is a wagon on the rope, and the wagon is coming out of a different shaft that is down there where the wagon is at the end of the rope. So just we're very clear. And also, it's really dark down there. So we could maybe pull the wagon up, you sit in the wagon, and then we pull the wagon down.
I like this plan.
That sounds like a
Somebody
good plan.
stronger than me should implement it.
Okay,
I
can-
guess
collectively.
I guess Regina is going to be lowering us.
Okay. That's first. There was a winch, right?
Right.
A winch is the thing with a handle that turns, right?
That's right.
Ah, wonderful. I wasn't sure about the word. Okay, I winch it.
So you start to winch it, and you realize that the winch is currently stuck in place. So I will need you to break. You're going to need to try to break the locking mechanism on this winch because it's currently locked. The thing is that despite your considerable might, Regina, with your strength of 4, he said.
Yes, that's
Okay.
the maximum strength
strength of
a
4,
sprite
yes,
can
yes,
have at creation.
You are forced to acknowledge that despite your great strength, you will not be able to turn this winch on your own.
Hey, I stare at it. Maybe there's like a solution.
You would tell. I thought you were going to intimidate it into moving. Like, I'm sorry. It starts going. Okay, you stare away.
Like, if it... Okay, I look at the other people. It's not turning. It's not turning, and it's not because I'm not strong enough. It's not turning because it's a mechanism.
Reginald looks at the locking mechanism itself. Is it like a padlock or?
Yeah. Well, more or less. It looks as if no, it's not a padlock. No, it looks as if it's put in place deliberately to keep the wagon on the other end of the rope from plummeting down the track. I mean, it wouldn't be a free fall, but it would be on that steep track at great speed. And so it looks like it's designed as like a safety mechanism, but the safety mechanism looks jammed at the moment. Like basically the rope that's on one side has gotten essentially caught up in the mechanism. So that's like a zipper trying to unzip a jacket, and it gets like stuck when you're trying to unzip it. That's what it seems like right now.
Did the toads do this?
Can I go over and try and help Regina to help?
You certainly could add your strength to hers.
Crank open the
So
winch.
we're looking at, what is that? 8?
Yes.
So that is, you hear as you and Regina both working it together, you hear a creaking, like you're but it doesn't give way yet.
Do we get the impression we're doing something?
Oh, so you're definitely having an effect on it. What the effect is unclear, but you're definitely having an effect on it, yes.
Reginald. Lend a hand.
I cast Shatter on the locking mechanism.
Okay. So you cast Shatter on the locking mechanism as he says, "Can I give you a hand?" And then Shatter. So the mechanism blows apart and the rope and starts basically spooling out like rapidly. Like you can hear the rope behind you is rapidly moving along the floor, like it's going to come through the winch and out and over in any moment.
And Regina, still holding onto the winch, goes like...
That's right, Regina. I forgot about that.
I just let go and fall on the floor. Yeah.
Why would you do this like that? You still just. Oh man, goes flying around. So you see an extraordinarily rapidly flying Regina moving around as
The sprite version of a Catherine wheel.
Watching this happen.
as the rope is.
Yeah. I will try and reach for the rope.
Okay, I'm going to ask you to make an agility check for me, please, or test for me, please.
Okay. As I have not played this in quite a while, could you just remind me the handy-dandy flow of how I roll dice?
Indeed. Do you have the let's see, while Jillies were looking at athletics, trying to think if I want to do, I forget if they have an athletics acrobatics difference in here.
Athletics can be brawn, agility, or metal based.
Okay. So then
So
I'd like
it's
you to
fine.
do athletic. Thank you. That's what I was going to look for. So then I'd like you to do an athletics, which is agility. So the question is, do you have athletics? If you do,
Yes.
you do. Okay. So then you're going to, do you have a focus? Do you have a focus connected to athletics? So
No.
like, yeah, do you have...
No, I don't.
Okay. So then you would just roll 3d6 plus the aspect in question. And athletics in this case would be agility, would be the thing we're looking at.
3d6 plus agility. Roll. Let's hope I get decent rolls like Muriel has. And not last session. 16.
Okay.
And which dice are we saying is because it die the first or the last one?
16,
last.
and then that's a great
Last one.
success. Not an extraordinary, but a great
Excellent.
success because you got doubles and you got the over the number. So you reach for it. So the good news is, Ashflower, you grab it. That's the good news. The bad
Excellent.
news is that a massive weight of something on the other end of it, probably a wagon, is pulling this rope. And so it jerks you forward and you go flying towards the edge of this thing. Now you can try to
dear.
stop it, and also other people can try to stop it, although not Regina, who is currently flying around at 75 revolutions per minute.
Breakneck speed.
Yeah. Although at some point, Regina, you could also release it. I mean, you do have the agency to release this thing if you want.
No, this will make me fly off in a direction I cannot control.
That is
I'll
quite
just-
accurate. Yes.
I'll just hang on until
Okay.
that thing stops moving.
Okay. So then Reginald and Muriel.
I will also make noises while hanging on, like.
Okay. Reginald and Muriel, it's going to be up to you then, because Ashflower is stumbling towards the edge trying to hold on to this thing.
Reginald's going to grab hold of Ashflower. Because he's somewhat caught off guard because he wasn't expecting quite a dramatic result like this.
So you grab on. I'm going to have you make... Actually, for this... Yes, I will have you make an athletics... And I know you hate to do this, but it's going to be brawn, this one. So.
Well, that's funny that...
Oh,
no,
you
hang
have
on.
your light fate thing.
I have a light fate thing, but I do have to use a full action to activate it.
That's fine.
Okay, so I'm going to use my light fate to embrace my aspect of the oak and substitute my resolve for my brawn, giving me a +5.
That's what I like to see. All right. So
Oh,
let's
actually,
have-
no, it wouldn't be. Hang on, no, it wouldn't be because I don't have agility at all. So it'd just be a straight 3d6, which wouldn't matter anyway. So I don't get the bonuses.
No, this is not this is not agility though. This is brawn.
Okay, so yeah, all right, I just had my brawn. Okay,
Yeah.
then. In that
I mean, if
case,
that
I will.
helps.
Yeah,
But 'cause this
yeah.
is-
Well, yeah, I can turn my brawn into 5 by using the ability. So
Okay. Good night, Shamgar.
yeah, gonna use my resolve, and here we go.
Wow. All right, now I have to see if that thing. I think that's fine because you would not have made the test if you were doing Ashflowers, but because Ashflowers already grabbed it, then so you do it with an extraordinary success. So you just strength of the grave, right? You're just kind of like no, and you grab on, and Ashflower, as you pull forward, the rope jerks, but you hold on to it. So Reginald is standing there holding you with Ashflower. Regina, as this happens, you are like because the winch suddenly stops, and you are extraordinarily dizzy holding on to the end of this this winch, while Reginald holds Ashflower, who still has the rope.
What
Thanks.
was that?
Is everyone okay?
When I said lend a hand,
I guess
probably
I could,
not what I meant.
I could try helping now that everything's
Is
done.
it not unjammed?
And I look to the near bottomless pit, 30 centimeters away from the end of my feet. Like, yes, it is. But there's a pretty big hole that I nearly flew into.
Now we can be the didn't fall in the pit for.
We could be the not in the pit crew. Ashlar gets his book out.
Somewhere.
I don't even know what that means. It sounds funny. It made Muriel laugh. It's fine.
Somewhere outside the village, you hear.
Yeah, the village.
I'm still hanging on the handle.
Yeah.
I feel nauseous. Help.
I hand her some alcohol.
Oh yeah, that's a good idea. I just fall to the ground like flop.
I'm feeling better.
Can I examine Regina with my healing skill?
You can, although not while you're also holding on to Ashflower.
Yes, that's a good
Don't
point.
let go. Don't let
At
go.
the
Yes.
moment, I should say,
Yes.
by the way, Ashflower, that you feel there's definitely a weight at the end that you're holding on to, but it does not feel like it's not swaying back and forth. So whatever you're holding on to clearly hit some surface and then is just sort of sitting on the surface. So whatever you've got held on your rope is not like hanging over a bottomless pit that goes down for a mile. It clearly hit something and is sitting on that, clearly like a sloped ledge or something, because you could still feel the weight, but it's not going back and forth or swinging or anything.
Okay, so yeah, there's resistance there, but it's not like I'm holding a dead weight.
Right.
No,
Exactly.
I mean no insult by that, Reginald.
Exactly.
So yeah, I'll look up to Reginald and I'll say, is there any way to fix the winch, or maybe make it so I can let go of this rope?
The winch is utterly shattered. I think we did it.
I mean, out of character for a second, I do have the brawn swap for 10 minutes, so I technically have a brawn of 5 for the next 10 minutes.
Here you go.
Okay.
My muscles are bulging with the power of oak.
Yeah, I'm just like, well, this is now your rope.
And you actually don't have too much trouble because of your extra brawn holding on to it, Reginald, because it's not, now in free fall anymore. So you can feel the heaviness, but you can hold on to it.
So I'm going to get up. I'm just going to go over to Regina, and I am going to ask her, that was quite a turn. Are you okay?
Quite a turn.
I stand up and run in circles. Yeah, fine. Completely fine.
Can you walk in a straight line? I mean, I've seen you walk in similar patterns before, but normally there's several barrels of ale involved, and I haven't seen you drink that much.
I run another circle. Not a straight line. And I fall over.
Is it offensive to pick up a sprite? And I'm saying this out loud.
I don't know. I've never picked up a sprite.
Okay.
Would you be
well, that makes
offended?
sense. That makes sense. So
No.
I scoop Regina up and I'll place her on one of my antlers so she can hold on.
I hold on. I look over to Muriel and do.
I told you it would be okay.
I walk past Muriel and I just say, I think the winch is okay. I left a dead weight on the other end of it.
Oh my gosh!
Wow. At some point, I've just got to start handing out light fate or taking it away, really, depending on.
No, you have to hand it out.
It's-
Dad jokes get light fate.
It's the only thing that's going to stop me.
So, all right, you were at the
Reginald's
edge of this,
gravely unamused.
Hey, there we go.
and I
Classic.
think as you are standing at the edge of this pit with Ashflower with Reginald holding on to this rope. And with Regina sort of laying on the ground, on the shoulder now of Ashflower.
On the
And Muriel-
horns. I got on the horns.
On the antler. On the antler. She's in the antler.
On the antler.
These
Yes,
are big
yes, yes,
antlers,
I got
man.
Yes, you got on the horns. That's
These
right.
are,
got
these
that.
are massive things.
So now that you've done that, I guess the question is, where is the party going to want to proceed before we wrap up here?
I want to go down the hole.
Down the rope. Yeah.
Okay. Are each of you going to climb down it? Because you probably can do that one by one with Reginald holding you, if you do it fast.
How would Reginald get down? Does he just climb down
an
really,
excellent
really
question.
fast?
Remember last time Reginald tried to climb?
Well, I remember the last time you all tried to climb. We were
I'm
stuck near a
not
tree
pro
for 20
climbing.
minutes.
I
I
am
guess
pro
I.
trying to get the wagon back up and then walking onto the wagon. I am very pro that plan.
So we could still winch the wagon up?
The winch is shot. I mean, you could like, you still have the rope, so you could try to pull it back up.
Yeah, like a
just
pulley,
manually,
right?
you know.
I
So
mean,
I-
Regina's
Reginald.
strong enough, right?
I don't think Regina's in any fit state, as Regina's just circling around one of my antlers because she can't hold on straight at this point in time.
We could all hold on and then let Reginald let go and just see what happens. That
Okay,
seems safe.
Oh, I don't.
Not going to be able to hold this for very long.
Okay, I sit down. I should hold it and then fly down to you people. Or we should, like, maybe tie it up somewhere?
Is
Tie
there a
it?
tie-up?
Well,
Like, this is a
there's
mine
sort of-
shaft. There should be, like,
Yeah,
columns.
there
Yeah,
are.
right.
Yeah, there's
Should be
one that you
something.
could probably fasten it to. Yeah.
We could. You guys could try that. And I'll watch. Yeah, let's do that.
While sitting on
Yep,
the antler,
no,
I go
I
like,
think that's
let's try that!
Let's try that. Yeah.
Yep. No, I think that's a good shout. We'll tie it. So are we tying it off to something and then climbing down the rope, or are we using what we're tying it to winch it back up?
I
No,
don't think
we tie it and climb down the rope.
Yeah, I don't think we have the
Excellent. Good
strength
plan.
to even attempt a winching.
As the character probably with the highest agility, I completely agree with this plan.
As the character with probably highest agility, I also agree with this plan.
Yes, excellent.
All right, so you tie up the rope,
Yep.
and then Regina can obviously just fly down. That's not a big problem. I will need people who are climbing down. Will need to make athletics based on agility, and I'll ask for that from Muriel, from Ashflower, and from Reginald.
I want to assist Muriel, like maybe like holding her collar and like, you know, like assist while flying so that she doesn't slip down.
Okay.
I like this.
Do I want to? Okay. I'll give you whatever your normal thing would be. I'll give you an additional 1 to this, Muriel.
Oh,
So, okay. So,
You non-flyers have a problem.
yeah. Now the rope does help. So the good news is that Muriel is able to make it down with no problem, and is
Yay!
able to get down to the wagon, where you can presumably you could even climb into it if you want, Muriel, because there's nothing on the other end of the wagon right now. Like, it's just because it's very steep. So like you're basically using the rope hand over hand to get to the wagon, which is on the end of this rope. So.
okay. Oh yeah, climb into it. Whatever.
So you're able to do that. Believe it or not, Ashflower, although you've seen better rolls, but Ashflower is barely able to get over to this. And because technically you did pass it and also got doubles, it means that you get a great success, which basically means that you're able to get there and clamber, if you wish, clamber up into the minecart. There's room for all of you, theoretically. You're able to do that without too much difficulty. You barely get down to the bottom, but then once you're there, you're able to make it the rest of the way without too much trouble getting into the cart. And that leaves us with Reginald. So
I said I can't do climbing.
So when Reginald...
Oh, you were not lying, friend.
So when you start to go down and climb down the rope, it all starts to, it seems fine at first, but then you hear this terrible creaking sound from up top, and you begin to worry a little bit, and then it creaks some more, and then there, as you're sort of climbing down, your hand slips on the rope, and you end up sort of bumping and then hitting the ground. You'll be happy to know that you're only going to lose a single life point from that. So you're fine until you start to roll and bang into the edge of the cart. And when you bang into the edge of the cart in which Ashflower and Muriel are now sitting, the rope up top, with this terrible creaking sound, gives way, and the cart begins to accelerate downwards, with behind, holding onto the rope, "Why did I leave the graveyard?" Reginald banging along the ground, holding onto the rope. And as you are racing down the shaft, Regina, what would you like to do? Go ahead.
I would like to hold on to the edge of the minecart, like at the back edge.
Yeah.
And like try to like slow it down by whirling my wings, like while we're going like down. Ah!
I have good news for you, because in fact, on this cart, there is actually a kind of a primitive brake and what looks like a crude steering system, like something that kind of like moves left or right on these tracks. And so there is a brake, and so one of you can be activating the brake and one of you can be trying to steer if you want. Reginald can do neither of these things at the moment. Reginald is just holding on. And so who wants to steer and who wants to brake?
I've never heard
I'll
of a thing
steer.
called brake.
Okay.
I'll steer. That looks fun.
So you're steer. Okay, so who's braking? Does
I
Regina
guess
not
I'm
wanna-
breaking.
Okay, so Muriel, you're braking. All right, so you start to brake it and slow it down, and that means it's a little bit easier, so you're able to, make it at a reasonable speed. So I will need Ashflower. I will need you to make, please, either a ride or a tinker check, or tinker test, I guess is what it is. And this would be agility
I
or
don't have-
brawn.
No,
Would be for tinker.
So if I don't have the skill, it's either going to be agility or brawn. Did you say?
Right.
Would you like me
So if
to steer?
No, it's fine. We'll roll. with this.
Actually, since
That's
you
what
don't
I-
have the skill, you're just rolling 3d6. Like is what that is.
just 3d6.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Tinker's one of the ones you can't test against unless you have it as well.
Right.
Ah, I see. Oh, I can't test against it unless I have it.
Well, but you can use. But you have ride, right? I mean, so ride would be the same thing that you'd be rolling 3d6.
No, I do not have ride.
Okay.
I do not have ride or tinker.
So, okay.
So rewinding.
that probably is going to
really
cause a
quickly,
problem because.
maybe I'm not the person to do this.
What about that roll that you just made? That
Um,
wasn't a good roll.
Yeah, but the thing is, they can't really test against that skill. There's certain skills that you can't do that for. So, so Regina, as you, I assume, go over to try to grab and steer.
Let
that's good
me
because
steer.
as-
Yes.
As you're trying to steer with Ashflower, as I imagine this in my head, Ashflower is like, all right, left, right, because Regina is below the level of the steering, and so Regina has to be like, left, and is moving this, which is good
moments
because
before Ashflower was just like, I got this. I have no idea what this is.
and let's remember that I don't think can any of you see in the dark?
I can't.
I can. I
You
have
can.
night vision.
Perfect, because Muriel, you're the only one who sees as they're going down this terrifying Night at Space Mountain Disney ride right through the shaft. You are the only one who sees coming up what looks like, if you're not mistaken, a fork in the road where you can go left or right. And as you are trying to decide which way to go and whether the cart will survive, we're going to bring an end to today's session.
I heard it.
So-
I heard it.
It's going to bring an end to today's session. Incidentally, Reginald, in case you're curious, you're able to hold on enough that you're not actually taking damage because you're on this slope, but you're just sort of like, you could let go at any point too, I should say, but at the moment you're just sort of like, you're literally going along for the ride, so you're not taking any additional damage, just so you know.
Let's let go in this dark tunnel where I can't see what's coming up.
That's why I didn't want to assume that you would do that. Right, exactly. So we will see what happens. You're going to be
I
finishing
actually do
in a
have the right
cliffhanger.
skill, by the way.
Yeah,
I do
what's
have the
that?
right skill. I can do this.
Do you?
You have the right skill.
Yes.
No, listen,
And I looked it
I'm
up.
excited.
And
I'm
I've
excited
looked
for
it
the
up.
steer check that's going to happen in this minecart ride to nowhere. We're going to see what happens when we get to the bottom of this.
I have a
Super
quick
fun, though,
question.
despite everything. Yes, Ash, what's up?
How cheeky would it be for me to ask to do a flashback skill usage for before we came down the rope?
A flashback skill usage? It depends. What's the skill?
It is my Leyline Walker skill. I want to spend my 3 light fates to create a portal anchor on the floor before we started descending the rope.
When did you get 3?
So I started with 2 because I took
Right.
thingy and I scored 1 for one of my rolls. I got a 6 earlier
Oh, on the
on
Kismet
the
die.
Kismet die. Yeah. Your choice. I'm more than happy. I'm more than happy
will
if
be
you say no.
merciful because this is a newer system, so I will be merciful and allow this. But I should point out that this is the last time that such mercy shall be shown, sir. But yes, that's fine. We can do that. So the ley line, because it makes sense that Ashflower would think about something like that if you had that 3 fate. You didn't score it though. You scored it before you reached this point, right? Like you got that 3rd light fate on a roll before
yeah, because the only other rolls I've done are to grab the rope, which I grabbed it but then got dragged along, and the only other roll I've done since the rope was secured was climbing down it, and I barely made that one. But I scored the point before that.
Okay, all right.
So
yes,
super quick flashback. I just draw a circle and some symbols on the floor, the section where we tied the rope off, so that it's relatively hazard free from that point to outside.
Okay, cool. I would say that's fine. And that brings us to the end of what was a very eventful session. I mean, we got the thing, we got out there, we got to the mine, found out about the toad, went into the mine shaft. We had Regina flying around holding on for her life to this handle of a winch. So we got a lot going on here with toads and diamonds. I will start as per usual on the bottom of the column and moving up. Chai Muriel got a lot of attention in this episode with starting with the old crone and gathering information about seeking out whatever this massive toad thing is, or whatever the prophecy is that we've got here. And so that meant that in some parts you ended up acting as kind of like a de facto leader a little bit in terms of, all right, let's do this, since you were the one sort of setting it up, which is a different feel, I think, for Muriel. How did you feel about today's session? Where would lovely folks find you next?
Wow, I mean, it was definitely different. I'm used to being a little bit preoccupied, but for some reason today, the baby slept for most of the stream, so that was awesome.
Yeah.
And yeah, being able to take kind of a leadership role was really interesting, but I think Muriel kind of, like, she enjoyed it, but wasn't sure what to do with that kind of responsibility.
Yep.
So that was fun. Although I am interested, being the prophet that I am, would I have an inkling as to which fork to take? So we'll have to explore that.
Yeah. Remind me. We definitely need to explore that. Yes.
Yeah, because I feel like that would be interesting. Or like if I get the wrong message and go a totally wrong way, that would be super funny.
Oh, you said that way.
Yeah, it's like, shoot, don't go that way.
Not
is
right.
the word.
Okay,
not that way. Yeah, exactly.
I got you.
Anyway, yeah, a lot of fun as always, and always great to hang out and chat with all these lovely people. I will be hopefully streaming on my personal channel the rest of the week, if the baby lets me. And we are playing Spellcaster University. It's very casual, but I actually really like it. So that's what we're doing over on my channel, if anyone cares.
Very cool. Yeah, I heard someone else playing Spellcaster Academy. It does seem kind of cool. So good stuff. Thank you, Chai. Always a great pleasure. We will see you next month, I guess, for this, I should say. And over on your own channel before that. Mike, Ashflower Ashflower went through, you had some different opinions about Ashflower too, which I won't go into detail, but you were like, but I was absolutely adoring the whole like, oh, hello, friends, the flipping through the book thing was cracking me up. And it seemed to be very logical in terms of, I was thinking about that meme with Steve Buscemi coming up in that movie where he's just hello, fellow kids, like, it's just, so I was thinking a little bit about that when Ashflower first showed up. And of course, then had a very eventful rest of the time with having to catch a rope, be pulled down yourself, all these other things. How did you feel about also wanting to talk to the toad socially? How did you feel about today's session, and where would lovely folks find you next?
I really enjoyed this session. I feel like Ashflower's getting a little bit more of a personality now, which is really nice. So we'll see where that goes as the adventure continues. I really like the idea that he's tried really, really hard to be more social because he feels that takes him out of his comfort zone. But God, he can't stand it. Like he barely stands anybody's company. I mean, these three are the people he stands the most, and he's barely spent any time with them, but the time he has spent with them has been fascinating, interesting, and exhilarating. So he kind of just wants to explore that, He doesn't have the concept of kind of social etiquette. So I'm trying to explore that a little bit more, which is very easy for me because neither do I. But If you want to find out more from myself, I'm not streaming at the moment. I have been streaming lo-fi gaming sessions, which is basically just chill out gaming sessions with different video games. We were playing Spiritfarer on Nintendo Switch for a long time. That series is on hiatus right now, just because I've got a lot of projects on right now. So, and it also gives me some time to go on a holiday in a few weeks' time. And also just reformat some bits and pieces that I want to do, which also means that this area of the setup right here will also have more consoles in it, which means more consoles equals more games that I can play, so that will be cool also. So yeah, stay tuned to my Twitter, which is at Peripheral Mike, if you want to find out any of the up and coming news from myself. But as always, I've had a wonderful time. I love you guys so much. It's genuinely so nice to play D&D with you guys.
Good stuff. Thank you, Mike. Always a great pleasure. And you will hear other things. You'll see Mike later this month with this group, but most of this group. But you'll also hear from him and see from him in a different capacity, as you'll see. But he said mysteriously.
What could we be talking about?
What could we be discussing right now? But no, always a pleasure, Mike. Saber, Reginald had a chance to do a lot of good stuff. I like the idea that there's something vaguely impulsive about Reginald sometime, which just seems to come from the whole like, well, obviously you do this. Like, so it's like the you know, when you're a hammer, everything is a nail. The idea of shattering the winch is a good idea because you're like, listen, I can't really, except that when people are holding on to it, you know, the other things may end up happening as a result.
Yep. It was one of those, one of two things is going to happen if I do this. Yep. Okay, now one thing is going to happen. We're all going in the pit.
But and then you also, and I love the whole, like, as you were all talking, like, the Graveyard 4, and you just being like, oh, you in my graveyard? Like, I love the idea that everyone is secretly in the graveyard but didn't want to tell you. That was really cracking me up. How'd you feel about today, Will, with lovely folks find you next?
It has been a lot of fun. So I may be a little too in love with the Shatter spell. I'm sure this won't be the last time it causes a situation. As is climbing, that's definitely going to be a recurring problem for Reginald going forward. I think every time everyone goes, we climbed down, Reginald's just like, oh no. and now I'm being dragged along behind a minecart, careening down a dark tunnel with the only one of us knows there's a split coming up.
Yep, what could go wrong? It'll be fun.
That's quite the cliffhanger. Yes, so we'll have to see what happens next. Well, yeah, again, one of two things is going to happen. We go left or we go right.
That's right.
What happens next, that's going to be the problem. Yep. But I'll be back here with most of the crew again for D&D, which I'm looking forward to. So it's going to be our second session. Our first full session after session 0.5.
I'm so
going to be looking for
Ghost of Saltmarsh, joined by Ananda. Chai will be not in that one, but Ananda will be.
Very, very different character from Reginald, so I'm looking forward to getting back to him and showing what he can do. But I'll be back tomorrow right here on this channel. Haven't picked a game yet. I want to see what's in the Wednesday sales before I lock anything in. And I'll be back on my channel where I'm playing a game we cannot speak of from a company we cannot name. It rhymes with Pathchife.
Oh, interesting. Yes.
I'm not banned from saying it. It's just,
Does that mean that Pathchife tree is confirmed?
Yes.
Want to make sure. All right.
Yes, it is.
Good. Outstanding. Always a pleasure, Saber. Thanks again for Moobot and Dashboard, and we will see you here soon for D&D with GOG Ghosts of Saltmarsh. We'll also see Pyron Jade for D&D with GOG Ghosts of Saltmarsh. But Regina, really had a chance here to. I love the little relationship being built between Regina and Muriel. The idea that Muriel would just, I forgot to mention that was also really funny. Muriel's just like, I'll take the alcohol. Oh, Regina, like not even paying attention. Like, sure, I'll just grab it.
The conversations between those two are just
really
confusing and like hilarious.
They're really funny, and I love the idea that Regina's like, I can do this, like as she's like rapidly spinning around. That plus the whole Graveyard 4 thing was cracking me up. So a lot of good moments, I think, with Regina today. What did you think of today's session, and where, Pyron, will the lovely folks find you next?
I love today's session, and I'm really looking forward to finally put my writing skill to the test.
Yeah. See? Who knew it was going to be a minecart, but
Yeah, could have been the cat. It's going to be the minecart. This is fine. I loved it, and I do have a regular streaming slot on Thursday that I couldn't do last week due to some real life stuff. I really hope to get back into it this week. I don't know yet what I'm going to stream. I mean, there's still kind of a RimWorld save game relay going on that I don't know the state of, which is as intended. And, but I might also do something maybe from the French sale we have going on. There's some really good stuff in there, or something just really random. No clue, can't tell. But I'll try to be there on Thursday.
It's going to be good stuff either way. Yeah, Solasta actually is from a French company, so I was like, oh yeah, and then Perrin's like, aren't we playing Talisman? I'm like, you're right, but just imagine that you could buy Solasta from a French company. It's in the sale, and then you'll watch me play it next week. This was a great pleasure as always. I'm very excited as well for Ghosts of Saltmarsh, but I'm also excited for more of this awesome Talisman game with all of you lovely people, including Chai, next month. So, chat, can we get some love for Pyron J, Darksaber2K, Peripheral Mike, and Tasty Chai, and players' wonderful work as always. I will see you folks very soon. Bye for now. Alrighty. So, that is going to do it for us for today, but I hope you folks enjoyed yourselves. And if you enjoyed yourselves, I hope that you will consider doing one of the many things that you must do. And that is, wait a minute, I did that wrong. There we go, that's what I was looking for. One of the many things you must do, which is, first of all, to follow the channel. That is always appreciated. Please make sure to follow us here on GOG.com. Please make sure to sub to us here on GOG.com as well, because subbing is what supports all the streamers like myself and most of the people that you saw on that stream that we were just doing now. And please consider clicking through to our individual streams, because we have our own individual Patreons and subsystems as well. A reminder that tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern, I have a special interview coming up on my channel of the developers of NeoCab. Andrew McLean, who is the lead engineer on NeoCab, and Paula Rogers, who's the lead writer on NeoCab, are going to be there. And I'm going to be joined by 3 out of the 4 members of my vocal crew, the Our Vocalists. Zach Clay, Little Red Dot, and Russ Guberman are going to be joining me to ask questions and to sort of chat a little bit with these folks about this really interesting game. So if you are interested, please stop on by. I don't believe we have anything on GOG.com today until tomorrow, I think, when Saber, I believe, is the next person up who's going to be here tomorrow. So if you missed it, make sure you check out the VOD and all that good stuff. And otherwise, thank you all for being here, and thank you all for being awesome. And I'm going to rise up on out. Until I see you next time, either here or on my own channel. I'll be back, by the way, on this channel next Tuesday for more Solasta Crown of the Magister. Otherwise, as I say, I'll be on tonight with that interview on my own channel. But otherwise, I will say goodbye to all you lovely people with my lovely daughter here as well. I'll catch you folks soon. Everyone be good to each other. Bye for now.